Oh, we've got to do an intro with the newsroom as people joining. Second live for today. Hopefully we get some people in here, but listen to this intro as we let a few people come in.
The UK, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Australia, Belgium has freedom. So 207 sovereign states in the world, like 180
Thanks
of
for
them have
joining.
freedom.
Just
All
getting
right. And yeah,
started.
you,
Here's the intro
sorority
to the
girl. Just in
newsroom.
case you accidentally wander
haven't
into
heard
a
it.
voting booth one day, there's some things you should know. And one of them is there is absolutely no evidence to support the statement that we're the greatest country in the world. We're 7th in literacy, 27th
If you
in
haven't
math,
heard this
22nd
before,
in science,
it's important.
49th in life
That's how we're going
expectancy,
to start today's
178th
live.
in
I
infant
usually end it with
mortality,
this.
3rd in median household income, number 4 in labor force, and number 4 in exports. We lead the world in only 3 categories: number of incarcerated citizens per capita, number of adults who believe angels are real, and defense spending, where we spend more than the next 26 countries combined, 25 of whom are allies. Now, none of this is the fault of a 20-year-old college student, but you nonetheless are, without a doubt, a member of the worst generation ever. So when you ask what makes us the greatest country in the world, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yosemite?
All right, that was the intro to the newsroom as we're just getting started in this live and people scrolling by because they don't see me speaking. I'm trying to do this live a little different. I've changed the header up there with the plan and my links because I think that's been doing something to the reach of these lives. The reach in these lives was much larger in the past couple of weeks, but just recently it's less. So it makes me wonder. So if you're into, actually, I don't care if you're into civics or politics, you should be. Because civics is actually really cool. Someone let me know. Sometimes I have problems with TikTok hearing my microphone. So can you hear me? If someone can give me a thumbs up, if you can hear me, just confirm. That would help a lot to make sure that, well, that people can hear me, of course. And this comes from a live that I did earlier talking about, what would actually take to replace all career politicians from both parties and eliminate corruption, because mostly everybody agrees with those two things. Excuse me. And that's came up like, what would you call this movement? What would you call a party? And I don't like to call it a party or movements, especially in the early days. But of course, you had Elon Musk talking about an American First Party, which was nonsense to think that a billionaire from South Africa, from apartheid, slavery, is going to create a new American party. He's not even a natural born citizen. So it sounds ridiculous on its face. And it was ridiculous because if we're going to have a new party at some point, because everyone thinks that you have to be the Impossible Party. Hey, that's a great name. The Impossible Party, right? Because many people think it is impossible. But there is nothing in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, or anywhere that says there has to be a Democratic or Republican Party. We've just all been convinced into thinking there has to be. And that's the point that, almost happened. There was the Reform Party in 1992 that had incredible success, even though it failed ultimately. But it showed proof that it could happen. And most people that are probably younger than I am watching this, or those of you that are younger, probably don't remember the Ross Perot's Reform Party that had an incredible impact on American politics until it didn't. And it could have, and it should have. And most people need to understand that it could happen if there was 50 to 70 million people. And that was almost going to be the title of this live. Are there 50 to 70 million people that want to eliminate corruption from government and replace all career politicians? But I like that name. I'm more interested in the names. And if you want to jump in and be a guest on the show, you can hit the link, the silhouette for the pink and blue silhouette, and join and talk about this, because I think it's really important. Actually, I don't think it's that important right now that you need to have a name. First, you have to have people that really want to do this, right? And I know that people are out there because there's 75 million independents. There's so many people on both sides that are just frustrated with our political system, and we should have a name eventually. I don't think it's that important to have a name. Richard, you're going to join in just a moment. I don't think it's that important to have a name, but maybe I am wrong. Maybe there should be a name of an organic movement, and the Integrity Party, the New Labor Party. Personally, I don't love that one. The Founders Party, interesting. Integrity Party, because that really that hits home, right? The integrity, because there's no integrity in politics right now. So would the Integrity Party be a good name? You could also use possibly the Reform Party name again. I don't know if that's could be used since it used to be a Reform Party. I don't know if there's any sort of historical legalities that still remain in place, but there could be the Renewal Party, is some thoughts that I've had, the Unity Party or the United Party. Maybe that would be the one. But I think, well, I'd like to know your thoughts, the people who want to join. Like, should there be a name right now for some sort of organic movement, no matter how long it might take? Take that out of it. But if you were going to name a party that's fully against both existing parties and the corruption in our political system, what would you name it? So, Richard, you're going to jump in as we see other people leave their comments. Please do leave your comments in here. And it's interesting. So I do see the live is growing, which is great because I took a link out to a different platform. And I was wondering if that link was suppressing these live broadcasts. So maybe it is, because all of a sudden now we're getting many more people in here. So, hey, Richard, how are you?
I'm doing good.
So what are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on a name? And is it important to have a name? Because we're seeing a lot of comments come by that have some interesting names to them.
Yeah, I've seen some good ones. Well, would you agree that like a lot of times in like the government, names are kind of like the opposite of what you expect? Like the Department of Defense is like really like not defense,
Well, you could say Citizens United, the ruling Citizens United was really
right?
against citizens. That would be a good one as well.
Yeah.
That is
So I
true.
think we should name this party the Corruption Party.
I'd like to see what people think in the comments. Are you being serious or you're just making a light of
No,
it?
I had an actual answer. I was joking.
Okay. Well, I mean, because it is quite funny and, it would almost resonate, right? Because like you said, you do the opposite and you get more people raising awareness to it. And you're really trying to do the anti-corruption party, but you're calling it the corruption party. It's funny.
Yeah, it's like Gen Alpha like irony, you know? Maybe you get the young voters.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, but I have a better one. I have a better one. The Make America Great Again party.
oh boy, come on. All right. Now, so before you were joking and now you're just being foolish.
No,
No? Why? Sorry, are you a Trump
you don't
supporter?
think somewhat.
Okay, so what generation are you and are you American?
I am 29 years old, so I am between Gen Z and millennial.
Okay, what do you classify? I think that would be actually Gen Z, right? So I think you're still Gen Z.
It's
Tech.
literally on the border. It's very strange.
Okay.
I watch a lot of TikTok, so I would consider myself more Gen Z than millennial.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'll veto the hard pass on the MAGA name party. Yeah, no, thank you. The True Republic Party, don't love that one. Young Millennial, we see some other names coming through.
Do you have an idea? Like, what's your idea of a good name?
Um, I, it's interesting. You could get too creative, but at the end of the day, simplicity is best. So my platform that I run on, I'm not running in terms of politics, but what I try and preach is eliminating corruption from the political system and replacing all career politicians from both party, right? You got to get rid of the money out of politics. Every other issue can solve itself. I am not red. I am not blue. I am fierce independent. So to me, the natural one is United Party. It's a little boring, but I see people on my platform, my videos from MAGA and liberals who all agree that we need to eliminate the money from politics. So in that case, it would be United Party or something of that name, of that nature.
That's an interesting idea. Who do you think would be like someone who would be a good like person to like of all the politicians we have right now, like who would be like in that party?
None of them. Absolutely none of them. Zero. We don't need career politicians. We need to replace all career politicians from both parties. So we just need people with integrity and moral integrity and character who want to be temporary civic servants. So I would say there's millions of Americans that would probably step up to do that if our political system wasn't so, corrupted and many other aspects. So,
Yeah,
and
I
as
think like
someone, by the way, let me just say this, as someone who is a Trump supporter like yourself, I understand, or not understand, I can relate to why MAGA, those in MAGA thought, Trump was an anti-establishment, or so many people thought, anti-establishment person, but he had no character and he has no moral integrity. So while he was anti-establishment, he led a promise to a lot of people that they gave them hope, even though he spewed an incredible amount of hate to the other side. So that is not an American president thing to do, but I can understand why people, because he was anti-establishment, wanted to support him. And he proved something that, while I completely disagree with a lot of his, or most everything that he's done because he is so hateful, he did prove that running on anti-establishment, even though he hasn't eliminated corruption whatsoever, that it showed hope, right? It was unlikely for someone to basically, he's a Republican in name only, because what he really did was his MAGA and himself took over the Republican Party. So it's the Republican Party's in name only. This is the MAGA party, right? And that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Would you agree, like, as the country gets older, like, you just accumulate corruption and then you get to a point where there's like so much corruption?
Yes and no.
It's kind of like dying of old age.
No,
you know?
that's not true. Because there's a series of events, and being 29, you may not know these events. And it wasn't just Citizens United in 2014. There was a series of regulations or removal of regulations from campaign finance, and they happened under Reagan, it happened under Bush, and it happened under Clinton. So 3 presidents. And then of course, it happened in 2000, I think it was 2014, Citizens United. So while there has always been corruption in government, of course, I'm not saying there hasn't been, the amount of corruption has metastasized or accelerated due to the lifting of regulations by presidents and Congress from both parties. So
Yeah, so I think like it just starts accumulating, right? Like this is kind of like the natural course of like these countries or all countries, right? Like you start off with an idea, it's better than the other ideas, but then you give it enough time and then enough corruption and like weaknesses start building up. So I think
maybe
like we
it's
should go
bad
to,
people, right? It's
yeah.
not government. You had 200.
Well, so I think we should start over. Like I think we should go to Mars and like start a new country.
Okay.
Like I think America is,
Well, Elon Musk should go to Mars, and I think a lot of people would be happy about that. So he should do that. I agree.
yeah, I feel like we should be called like the Mars Party.
Okay. Well,
And go
obviously, it
Mars.
sounds like you don't want to be serious at all. That's too bad, because as a 29-year-old, I think Gen Z is the most important generation in the current history of America, or the future history of America. And Gen Z, because of TikTok and the information age, you guys are being manipulated and convinced and poisoned, mind poisoned, to thinking that it has to be blue or red. It doesn't really have to be that way. From a practical sense, that's how it is today. That's how it's functioning. But it doesn't have to be that way. And Gen Z and millennials and my generation, Gen X, need to take their heads out of their asses and understand that every generation has had to fight for freedom and liberty and limit corruption. And none.
Well, TK, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, isn't it very interesting that in every single era there's a dominant country and then it just becomes obscure and kind of like useless? Like think back to the Greeks, the Romans,
Of course,
the
countries come and
Egyptians.
go, right? Empires fall and
Yeah.
they thrive,
So
right?
I think like America could just be done, you know? Like it's just how it is.
Well, no, it's not just how it is. It could
I
be
think we
done.
should get some money and then go to Mars because America's over.
All right. Well, I'm going to take a different caller. I appreciate your input. I don't appreciate that you haven't been serious, but nonetheless, best of
I'm
luck to you.
serious.
All right. So, Tar and Feather Party, interesting as well. If anyone else wants to join in, hopefully you're a little bit more serious. But if you want to be funny, then actually be more funny. But that's a shame, because I think it's a problem. Gen Z and millennials, a lot of people aren't taking it seriously. They don't understand the importance of government and politics and civics in their lives, even if they're not directly involved. They should understand it. Their Communist Party, oh, good one. That's original. But I liked United. Can you use Reform Party? There's the Integrity Party. That would be a great one. That definitely needs to be on there. The Clean Party. What else do we have there? So lots of suggestions. I know some people are being funny, which is cool. If you have some unique names. The Corruption Party, which a caller the last guest, of course, was not being serious about. But it is actually interesting because there are lots of things that are named the opposite of what they are. And that would certainly garner a lot of eyeballs if you did something like that. Freeze their pay during shutdown. So what other names? Oh, and the reason I have this live talking about what should you name a party, because it's not important to have a name right now. But if you're familiar with this channel at all, you'll see a link. I don't know if you can see it. Sometimes it gets blocked by these TikTok things on top, but there's a link to tinyurl/TK Civics Plan. I'm not just here to talk about left versus right issues and argue with people about things. It's about solving problems, right? And this is the biggest problem, and it's not an issue. It's a principle. It's a value. Understanding that you shouldn't have money in politics, and big money in politics needs to be eliminated and eradicated, and representation needs to come back to the people. And while I don't think it's important to have a name now, because I will certainly never run for office, but I know how to build communities. And I think you need to have people like, of course, you had the Tea Party, the Green Party, the Forward Party. There used to be the No Name Party or the Know Nothing Party. Did you know that? There used to be an actual party in the United States called the Know Nothing Party. Interesting. Of course, there was the Whig Party, and there has been many other parties, and it doesn't have to be the Democratic and Republican Party, just like there used to be the Reform Party in 1992 that made great headways. So Mike, Deb, 12, you said, I'm out. All right, so you're out later. And so I think, while I don't think it's that important to have a name today, maybe it is. Some people would say you need to have a name even if you're going to organize a group of millions of people, and it's going to take 50 to 70 million people. But I know there's 50 to 70 million people that want to eliminate corruption from both from the political system and eliminate and replace all career politicians. And that applies to whether you're MAGA, liberal, or anything in between, that everyone agrees with those two things. And that's what it has to come down to. It can't be talking about every little issue, because all the issues can be resolved, but you have to have a party and a movement, and it has to be big. You can't just create the movement. You have to grow the movement. You then recruit politicians once the movement is big enough to elect people. And people think this is a crazy notion that it can't happen. And I promise you, while it sounds impossible, it certainly could happen. And it would happen with enough people supporting something. And that's what I'm trying to do here on this channel is, and I hope there's hundreds or if not thousands of other people that create content that go against anybody that's fighting for or arguing for the blue liberal perspectives or the red conservative perspectives or the MAGA perspectives, because you're all wrong. If you're arguing about shit, you're just being divided and conquered, and that's how you keep power. So those people in power, all the different industries and special interests and the political parties themselves, they maintain power by dividing society. So if you're just watching Dean Withers and Parker belittling MAGA voters or Trump supporters, or you're watching Charlie Kirk or Ben Shapiro or, Charlie Kirk's continued videos, or Joe Rogan, or any one of these propagandists on the right, or the people on the left that are just belittling people on each side, we're all losing. It's all BS. You shouldn't be watching those people because they're just polluting your minds. Because Gen Z and millennials are going to see the demise of America as we know it, because it's already functioning as a corporatocracy and not a democracy. And we are a representative democracy technically, but we're not functioning that way. And I've lived through it. Many of you that are my age or older, you've lived through it. You know that America used to be a much more democratic system that with less corruption. I'm not saying no corruption, but it certainly had less corruption. It is called the Libertarian Party, Oversteer. I love this one because it is absolutely a pipe dream and something that cannot exist. There is a libertarian party per se, but there is no libertarian form of government. It doesn't exist. It's a pipe dream. It's something that can't happen because a libertarianism is a good philosophy. It makes a lot of sense, but it's not any form of government because it's not a form of government that exists anywhere in the world. So people who read about libertarianism, they get enamored by it because they think it's the way we should go. but it's not functional or relative politics that actually can exist. So we have a lot of people on YouTube, or a few people on YouTube already. The plutocracy of CEOs and the ruling class observing the workers and the lobbyists, dude. General welfare of the wealthy. Yeah, there's definitely class warfare going on, and it's about top versus bottom. We need to be punching up, listening to Pops. Okay, but thanks for those comments, Will, on YouTube. And a lot of good names. What else are there for names? People dropping in some names. And please remember to like and follow, because I don't know how many years it's going to take, and I know there's other influencers and content creators creating content around this sort of middle ground story or theme, but it's important. But I actually have a plan. It's not talking about problems. It's actually a plan. And if you read the plan, and it only takes 5 minutes, you might realize that, you know what, it actually could happen, but it's very binary. It would only happen if you have 50 to 70 million Americans that would support it. And it will not happen if you don't. So it's strictly a numbers game. So we should make political parties illegal. You know, George Washington never wanted the formation of political parties. He knew it would divide the country, and that's exactly what happened. So they didn't make political parties illegal in the Constitution. Maybe that's something they should have thought about, and maybe there could have been some different way of having political representation without parties. But of course, parties formed, but we used to have many more parties. There used to be, and many of them were smaller, but we used to have independents that get elected into representation. There used to be other party members throughout the 1800s, but it's just sort of consolidated between these two parties. But it doesn't have to be like that. And eventually, if people got together, they could create something completely different and or take over the existing parties and do something different. There's a lot of ways to work within the system to change it. Populism is the answer. Pragmatism gets things done to help the most folks. True. People should run on their merits and experience. Yes. Well, I don't know about that. Your neighbor, Carl, that's a good comment, should run on their merits and experience. I would say the most important thing, because politics, and whether it's geopolitics or economics, all those things can be learned and get that domain experience. I think people should run on their character and their moral integrity. And as long as they're knowledgeable and understand, they can pass an immigration test and they understand geopolitics, anybody could be a better politician than the people in office today. You have so many politicians that have no experience and no merit whatsoever, and that's a problem. But the bigger problem is that they're just not decent human beings. They have no character. They have no trustworthiness. They have no track record of integrity. And they're spewing conspiracies. So United Party, I love that one. United Party is certainly an idea. I like that one as well. It sounds a little boring, but maybe boring is good. Oh, okay. Sorry, near neighbor Carl, if I didn't understand that all because it wasn't full context, I understand that as well. And thanks for the likes and the badges and all the different comments about naming a party. Now, I also want to know, if you're watching this, do you think it's important to have a name in the early stages? Because at the end of the day, you're just trying to create or help people get their mind around that there doesn't have to be these two parties, and there just needs to be an organic movement of some kind that people say, I want to eliminate corruption from politics. If you think of the Occupy Wall Street movement, that was leaderless, so that was a problem. But of course, that was an organic movement that was quite powerful back in the early Obama days. But that was never meant to be a party or even a community or a movement of any kind. So the People's Party, yeah, that's, again, that's sort of like the United Party. I like the People's Party, the Populist Party, the People's Party, the Anti-Corruption Party. What else do you have? Integrity Party. That one's also, something that would be for that. But do we need a name? What do you guys think? Do you need a name for a party in the early stages or a movement? The Freedom Party. I think that comes with a lot of baggage, and even though it's true, every generation has had to protect liberty and freedom and American values. But the Unity Party, because we all know that most people, I really like the Unity Party, even though the Revolutionary Party, I don't know about that because that makes it seem like it would be a second revolution in terms of violence. You certainly don't want that. The Future Party, Mr. Global, back. Welcome back. That was from our conversation earlier, Mr. Global, about is it important to have a party name or for a name for a movement this early on? And so that made me think about, hey, jump on again. Let's see if we get a few more people in here. Let's see if there's any cool names that we could think of. The Accountability Party, certainly very relevant, but is it something that would be memorable enough? Like we got to keep things simple. I mean, not that that's complicated, but Accountability Party. I mean, we are already the Freedom Party. That's another vote for Freedom Party. So far, Unity Party is very clear on what it should be, but there's got to be something else that could be really interesting. So, Mr. Global, you're welcome back in. But let's just watch the comments come through on these different party names. And welcome back.
I love what you're doing. I really do.
Well, thanks.
I
Well,
really.
I'm glad there's a few more people in this one. Last week we had about 300 to 500 people on average in these lives, and I was wondering because I had the link. Remember the links we talked about earlier about
Yeah.
to these other platforms, and I was wondering because AI can read text on links, and I wonder if you never know what you get suppressed for. So I took that other link out,
Oh.
and now there's more people joining again because it was weird. Because last week was typically 200 to 500 people in these lives, and then it went to very few. So it was strange.
I kind of attributed it to the fact that it was Thursday night football, but maybe I'm wrong.
That could be it as well. The People's United Party, the Constitution Party, the People's Party, all valid.
I feel like I don't know. Is it just me, or does it like having a title have like a negative connotation?
That's what I've always been worried about, right? Is it's much too early to have any sort of title, but then at the same time, does a title somehow connect people to something? I don't know. I never wanted to have a title, but was it Polaris earlier? He mentioned it, and I thought it's like, well, let's at least throw it out there. It's something to talk about.
I don't know why, but I feel like something has always connected, or in my mind, as the name of it being the collective. I don't know why. Something about it just it feels inviting and maybe all encompassing. I don't know.
Well, let people know in the comments, what do you think of collective? I have a feeling that as you get older, that sounds more appealing, but I have a feeling it sounds very unappealing to
Does
young.
it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's just my reaction. I could be wrong about that again, but it doesn't sound like the United Party. When I first heard
Sounds
Musk,
creepy.
there you go. Collective sounds creepy. All right,
It doesn't
thanks.
have to be.
Does it have to be
Sounds
what?
like a cult.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, well, thanks for what is it? Cheating at checkers. What? Well, let's just call it the cheating at checkers party. Collective sounds creepy.
Sounds
Central
Orwell.
centrist party, not too original, but needed. That's definitely very descriptive and accurate.
Well, let's ask ChatGPT.
I did already. And
You
I sort
did?
of, yeah, I came up with sort of what everybody's saying here. Most of them are on here. The Integrity Party came up right away.
Really?
Yeah, so ChatGTP and us humans are pretty much coming up with the same thing. The Renewal Party, the Start Over Party. I don't know. I'm just reaching at this point.
Rebirth?
Which one? What'd you say?
Rebirth party?
Rebirth Party. Right. Someone said the Founders Party. And I just don't think enough people know much about the founders and the Declaration of Independence to have anything regarding the founders, because the founders have actually been character assassinated a lot around the American thoughts or consensus. A lot of people view the founders as very flawed people, which in many ways they were, but they were just working within their morals of the 18th century. But so Founders Party I don't think makes much sense. Oh boy, your neighbor Carl, look at that stillborn party. Wow.
Hey, you can't. It happens.
Yeah.
People are. Whew.
Well, I think neighborhood Carl thinks it will never happen. That's why it's stillborn. So there you go. I think that's probably what he was probably going for.
That last conversation you had with what was his name? I forget what it is now.
Not Polaris.
No, I was watching you when you were talking. Was it Richard?
Rick?
No, I think it wasn't it
Oh,
Richard or
in this was it in this
20,
live?
yeah, 29-year-old
Oh
kid?
yeah, the 29-year-old, yeah.
Just that one was a little, it felt disingenuous.
Oh yeah, yeah. I tried to lead him to a little bit of seriousness, but as a 29-year-old, he wanted to have nothing with that, which
The
is
Equity Party. I kind of like that.
that's pretty cool. Revivalists. Where'd you see equity? Who said that one?
Sorry, ChatGPT on my iPad said
Oh,
that.
okay. I thought someone in the comments said that.
No, I just prompted it. What are some names for a party, a political party? And it just kind of gave me a slew of different ones.
Okay, now I think your neighborhood Carl is being more serious. The New Vision Party. That's quite good, right? That's nice. Cheating at checkers. I like this. The People's Party. Is that boring enough, Vanessa? Is I think too boring? Is it, I mean, obviously it's very descriptive, and that's what it needs to be, right? It needs to be a populist People's Party, something that's anti-Democratic Party and anti-Republican Party. The New Leaf Party, Nina 902. Why are you saying New Leaf? So starting a new leaf, new branch. Okay, I think that's where you're going with it. Maybe, but it's inclusive. It is. The People's Party is inclusive. But you know what? Being a patriot used to be inclusive, and now being a patriot, like if you called it the Patriotic Party, that wouldn't work today because it actually has been sort of just what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
Ruined?
Yes, ruined is definitely one word, and shamefully, right? It definitely
Yeah.
can't be isms. You know, I did something interesting, looked up all the isms because we all know that isms are just horrible words most of the time, right? So I looked up all the isms, and there were some really interesting. Where are the isms? What are their names? The rent is too damn high party. there you go.
That's a good one.
The Patriot Party. Sorry, I don't think that would work. That sadly, it wouldn't work. Oh,
Well, somebody's got to come up with a name, and then it'd be interesting to see what what their first thing that they would do. Be interesting to hear what their solutions are. What's the very first thing?
I've asked that question a lot, and I've never heard it. For me, it does always come back to that 28th Amendment and the corruption, right? And no one has seemed to argue something that's more clear because everything else seems to have some left or right leaning to it.
Yeah.
So the Eliminate Corruption Party. So as Richard said, the 29-year-old, right? The Corruption Party. I actually think it's quite funny, right? You know, because it's clear it would get a lot of eyeballs, right? If you ran on the Corruption Party and people would be confused, be like, what, the Corruption Party? And it's like, oh no, we're really the Anti-Corruption Party. And that would just get people talking about it, right? So
Right.
as ridiculous as it is, it actually, you never know, it could have merit. People's Justice Party. Eliminator is not bad. Commonwealth Party means citizens. Yeah, that means Commonwealth Party. I mean, there's some good
Commonwealth.
suggestions in here. But
It
yeah,
sounds very
old.
England.
Yeah, England and old. Too wordy, right? Cheating at checkers. Love that username. Cheating at checkers. I'd like to be cheating at chess. Then I know I'm really smart.
Stratego. I used to love Stratego.
I don't even know that either. Is that a board game?
Yeah, it was a board game. It was like you had anyway, I don't you'd have to look it up to do it justice, but it's a fun strategy game. It was a board game.
Interesting. Commonwealth equals empire. I think that's good merit to that as well. Like you don't want to be referred to as an empire. We, the People Party, that would just be the People Party. I think Mike 7014, the People Party, the Populist Party actually fits. It does. A lot of these names always do fit. You know, Musk is American First Party. I thought at first it sounded ridiculous, but you know, that's so simple. America First. It probably has merit, even though it seems too closely related to the MAGA party, right? So that would be, if you're truly trying to attract independents and soft liberals and soft Republicans, I think you have to have something a little bit completely fresh away from those, whatever negative views people might have over a certain name. The Pitchfork Party and Musk can go.
Stratego.
Scamping, I like that. The Tea Party, you know, obviously there was a Tea Party in 2008. Was it actually ever a political party? No, right? It was just an
The
association.
We Party.
The We Party. Oh, wow.
You said tea, and I was like, what rhymes with tea? It was like we. I was
Well,
like,
did you
oh,
see it
the
in the
We
comments? Because
Party.
that's what the neighborhood
No.
Carl said. He said the We Party.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't see it. They're going too fast.
I was like, we, but then you got like a we parts. Like I'm in a garage here, and you always have, when I'm fixing stuff, you always have we parts. You're like we, it's a we party.
The We Party.
Phoenix
Not
Party
the
rises
you.
from the ashes. Allegiant Party. Great names, everybody. Thanks for throwing in so many cool comments and suggestions. I really actually do appreciate it because this came from a conversation that Mr. Global and I had earlier with someone named Polaris. And if there's anybody else that wants to join the live as a guest, let me know. Not let me know, but actually request to join as a guest. And you can jump on with us as well. What was that from? Is that you, Mr. Global?
No, somebody gave you a bunch of roses.
Oh, look at that. Thanks for the roses. See, I don't even know how TikTok works, and I've been on here now a little while. I don't know what's going on.
I think it was like 24 roses.
So I have a little soundboard. I can do my own applause when I want to fake all the activity. I could do like stuff like that. You know, I might. Oh, or I could censor people. Oh, I don't want to do that. Or like the tombstone. Oh, so maybe each comment that comes through, I'll either give you a clap, applause, or something
There
of
you
that
go.
nature. The Department of War. Yeah, that made a lot of sense. What a wise change. Americans now has the Department of War instead of the Department of Defense. What kind of signal does that send to our adversaries? How dumb and ridiculous was that? We are democracies. Democracies are not supposed to start wars. We're supposed to defend ourselves. The People's Will Party, Clean Start Party. Trump already has the Pedo Party. Oh, ouch. That one hurts. Well done. Who is that? I can't see the comments or the name. Privaco Zero. Trump already has the Pedo Party. Dang. That's on point.
This one might be kind of good. The Civic Future Party.
Oh, you know, when I was creating the name moniker TK Civics, I didn't want to name it Civics because also Civics, like people Civics is so boring.
I love Honda Civics.
Right. I've had a Honda Civic. It was one of my second car that I had. Boy, did I.
Good car.
It's a good car, but I trashed the shit out of it.
It'll run forever.
It did. It went over 200,000 miles and I changed oil every, 50,000 miles. So
They make really good cars.
they do. I've had everything in between, and somehow I end up oftentimes back with a Honda. So, all right, it's back on point because we're going off very dependable. The Gulf of America, what, the Gulf of America Party? I don't think that makes sense.
Gulf of America.
Your neighborhood, Carl, you are active in the comments. I love your contributions. They actually didn't officially change the Department of Defense name. They gave it an official nickname. Is that true? Because I haven't been paying that close attention to that. So,
That was a joke.
is that a joke?
Pat says that was a joke.
Oh, wow. Which one? Is he thinking neighborhood Carl?
Yeah, no, the Gulf of America. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, it's hard to sort of read between the lines on the comments. So the neighborhood, Carl, is that a legit? Oh, okay. So you should know. You would think it would be pretty difficult. Like, I know they changed the name in the Department of Defense with the emblem, right? They called it the Department of War, and they put a Fox News host in charge of the Department of Defense. Oh my goodness. Like, what is the world coming to, right?
It's
Merit,
all it's all just a joke at this point.
right? Mike Hensley, Republicans. You want to call it the Republican Party? Oh, Michael Hensley. This is not what he meant. You want the Republican Party to come back. I do too. Where is the Republican Party? They are missing in action. A alcoholic Fox News host. That's right. You're right. I left out some adjectives describing Pete Hegseth, right? Man, it took a while to learn his name. Pete Hegseth, the alcoholic Fox News host. Oh my goodness. What else? Any other good names? Candy joined. Thanks, Candy. Any other good names for a new party? Again, we don't even know if it's important to have a party name at this point. It is not, I would argue. But I don't know. Maybe people will resonate with that. You still have the Green Party, right? There are other parties in the United States right now, but of course, no one knows about them practically unless you're into civics.
Right? FA, FO, that's a good one. I like that.
Yep. That's what it should be called, right? That should be sort of the manifesto of that party should be FAFO. Oh, look at that username, Masshole. Masshole, you joined. Welcome. Welcome, Masshole. You have any good names for us, Masshole? What should we call a new
He's got a
party?
good name. He's good at that.
He might be great at that. Dang, what's wrong with Republicans? I didn't say there's anything wrong with Republicans other than I think they don't exist anymore, do they? Is there a Republican Party? Nothing wrong with Republicans. I have lots of conservative sort of ideologies with progressive ideologies mixed, and I think I'm not in the minority. I think the majority of Americans feel like that. That might feel fiscally conservative, but morally a little bit more progressive. But there's also obviously millions of people that don't feel that way. How about the American Party? The American Party. I don't know what I feel about that. I think it's a little Republican Party, Democratic Party. I don't know.
The APAC party.
Both sides are brought to you by APAC. I think tomorrow I'm going to do a live stream, and this one might be more controversial about what do you think about is Israel biting off its nose despite its face? I think that's what it needs to be called because what they are creating so many enemies out of the MAGA side. And I don't think it's really wise but Israel and not Israel, not people, Jewish people, but their government is really taking things to obscene levels, and I think they're going to definitely despite their face.
Yeah, I mean, the whole globe is basically on the same page with that topic.
It seems like it, right? And sadly, it's going to affect regular people, Jewish people, good Jewish people. It's going to affect them like it has in the past because of what their government is doing. And
Yeah.
I don't think they understand what they're creating, especially on the hate side of the aisle, wherever you think that is. I'll leave that to everyone to judge for themselves.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that's a sensitive topic.
Yep.
I don't have, the Jewish religion, I feel like is not bad. I just feel like is it more or less the Zionist idea? Is that what it is?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't have too many deep thoughts about that other than just basic morality.
But I don't think it's okay for APAC to seemingly vote here and sway things the way that they need them to go.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how that makes sense.
Well, let's talk about that tomorrow because that'll be a 2-hour live on its own.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this now and you want to talk about APAC and pedophiles and all that stuff, which probably shouldn't even say that because, hey, shouldn't say that on TikTok Live, but nonetheless, tune into tomorrow. So any other good names for a party? Nothing. I mean, there's been some great names in here, but nothing like that to me stands out as just like, oh, that's got to be it.
What's the CUFI? Rick's back.
Welcome back, Rick. Oh, I wonder what Rick's going to say. Rick's going to have some suggestions, of course. I know where he's going to lean towards. And that's cool.
Oh, he said Christians United for Israel. Interesting.
Oh,
That's actually not far off, Rick. We might agree on something.
Yep. Civilian, the Coalition Party, Christians United for Israel. Well, isn't that just what the Cambridge Institute and what's the other one? The Heritage Foundation. It's basically what that is anyway, right?
Yeah.
The Corpse, that's an actual lobby? Oh, which one, Rick? What's an actual lobby? Oh, Citizens United for Israel. I'm actually not familiar with that. I'm in requests. All right. I'm going to have, you want to have Rick join us? Let's have Rick join us as well. Yeah. I enjoy having Rick on. Different views of opinions. That's okay. What's up, Rick? Hopefully your audio is good today.
Yeah, I should be good today. I'm on Wi-Fi this time.
All right. Excellent.
So no, Kufi is Christians United for Israel. It's actually spends as much or more money than AIPAC does, and it's the evangelical Christians who support Israel, rather than like the Israelis themselves or like the people with dual citizenship or whatever that run AIPAC. It's like because like there's a subsect of evangelical Christians who support Israel because of like the I don't know, like the biblical prophecies
homeland
and stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's like the end of the world prophecies. They think that like once all the Jewish people are in Israel, then Jesus is going to come back or something weird like that. And so they have a whole lobby, and like most of like the right wing Israel supporters are like get way more money from Kufi than they get from AIPAC. But yeah, I know you didn't want to keep this about. As far as like a name for a party, I think you're putting the cart before the horse. I think you need a plan to get ballot access before you can have a party because that's the hardest thing.
I agree.
I mean, the Green Party's been trying to get ballot access for 20 years, and every single election they have to just fight tooth and nail for like 8 or 10 of the states, even though they've been a party since like 96 or something like that. Like it's been a long time.
Yeah, and it's getting progressively harder because more states are restricting ballot access to new parties. But it has been proven that you can get on the ballot. And you're right, it is premature to talk about parties. This is sort of just a little cheeky live.
Get on the ballot in some states. It's basically impossible to get on the ballot in Oklahoma. Like it's a state to state thing. It's really hard to get on the ballot. In like North Carolina, you have to like start from square one every single election. Like there's different, like some states it's easy. New York is pretty easy. California is pretty easy. Alaska is pretty easy. But like other places, it's really
What's
hard.
it in Oklahoma? A certain amount of signatures, and what else is involved with that?
I don't know.
Let's find out.
In Oklahoma, basically ever because of how strict they are. And even if you do get on, you can get sued back off of it. Like the Green Party was sued in 2020. I ran for office as a Green in 2020, and I was also an elector for Howie Hawkins. So if Howie Hawkins had won the state of Michigan, I would have been part of the Electoral College.
You were so close. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
I mean,
no,
honestly, like 2020, we did a little bit better than 2024. The Green Party, as far as that's concerned.
What was the percentage of the vote? And nationally, what's the percentage of vote for the Green Party? It's sub 1%?
It's like a 1.5%, 2%,
Okay.
depending on the election. Usually like just behind the Libertarians. It's like the fourth biggest party usually. And there's a few other left parties that like I don't know, like Party for Socialism Liberation runs candidates. And then there's like Working Families Party, which sometimes runs their own ticket and sometimes they run on
Hmm.
Democrats. And then a bunch of states have their own weird, like some of them still have Reform Party ballot lines. And then there's like Constitutionalists and like a bunch of other like weird,
Yeah.
like New York has a whole bunch of parties and so does California.
Well, you're 100% right.
A handful of
We're putting
places
the cart
easy.
before the horse. Like,
But you always bring up Ross Perot. I think the one of the most successful ballot access. You need millions of dollars. Like you have to be planning on spending at least like $10 million on getting ballot access. If you don't have that, like you're not going to have
that's
a
the easy part.
party. Like
Yeah, that's
that's
the easy
just like
part.
the reality of it.
You have enough people that want a movement. Raising $10 million
If you say
to get
so.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think it's easy enough to raise $10 million in politics if you had enough people supporting it?
With 70 million people, be pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, sure, it can be cheap.
Could
But
be.
even then, it's not a guarantee. Like that's just like you need enough lawyers to like try to fight for it, but like
Sure.
you might still lose.
Yep.
Like I know when the Green Party got sued off the ballot in Wisconsin, it like what happened is that the vice presidential candidate moved in the middle of the election. She moved from Wisconsin to South Carolina, and they had enough signatures for both her Wisconsin address and her South Carolina address to put her over the top. But they just threw out they threw out everything. The judge was just like, no, sorry, that doesn't count. Like you can't move in it during an election. I guess like that's not allowed. It's against the rules or something. I don't know. And they threw out the whole thing, not just her on the ballot line, but like they threw out the presidential ticket too.
Interesting.
So what happened? So what do you do
I
when
don't
your
know.
opponent's not playing fair? Like, what do you? They're
Well, I mean,
obvious.
electoral politics in the United States is a game of for the wealthy to mediate their disputes. Like it's for the ruling class to mediate their disputes with each other, and they get to argue about how they're going to run the show for everybody else. That's like how it's been since the beginning of the United States. That's like from the get go, from the founding of the founders themselves were a bunch of like they were oligarchs, they were wealthy landowners and businessmen, and they got together in secret to like meet out how they were going to run the country that they just got. You know, like that's like how it's always been. It's never
Well,
not been
this is
like
where
that.
you and I
Sometimes we've been able to pressure them into doing things.
yeah, this is where you got
Like sometimes you can pressure
you got
them
a
into
little
doing
bit of a
things
delay,
for the
Rick,
people.
and that's what's causing sort of this challenging communication. I don't know if it's your
Sure.
Wi-Fi or if you have a TV on in the background or whatnot. But of course, that's where we have a clear difference of opinions. The Declaration of Independence was a vision for how the country should move forward with all men created equal. It doesn't mean that all men were created equal as of that day because they were abiding by 18th century morals at that time. But I could easily make an argument that the founding fathers, or not all of them, but many of them had a deeper vision and knew that you couldn't change everything overnight. So that's why they created the document. And these were flawed human beings with flawed morals, but also understood that democracy would need to evolve to a better place. And that's why you had obviously the Anti-Federalist Papers and the Bill of Rights and individual rights and so forth. So you oftentimes will talk about how flawed the founding fathers are in order to some reason discredit them. And you can discredit them for some morality reasons. But again, you're trying to apply 21st century morals to an 18th century society. And that's where I think you actually get it wrong in that aspect.
I don't buy that logic because you're only talking about the morals of the white people at the time. The indigenous people who were getting genocided knew what they were doing was wrong.
I know.
The people who were being enslaved, they knew it was wrong, and even the Europeans. Like you can read stuff from the British even saying like, oh, look at like there's a quote from one of the like some British well-to-do talking about when the Americans declared independence is like what like how ironic the Americans are declaring like saying like all men were created equal as they crack a whip over their frightened slaves. And so
Right.
the idea that this is like some new morality that they didn't have at the time is just nonsense.
It was a vision.
It was
a vision for a new. It was a vision for a new morality, and every power in the world was also not every power, but most powers in the world were also were still had slavery at that point and were also had similar moralities. So you could argue about moralities all day
That's
long, but that was
that's
not the
also not
vision.
true. That's a very Eurocentric viewpoint. There's most of the world did not have slavery at the time. The Europeans had slaves.
Right. Most of the empires. I
In
said
some parts
most of
of
the,
North
I meant to
Africa, there were
most of the
slaves.
empires,
Yeah, but like
world powers.
like in Asia, they didn't have slavery at the time.
Right.
Like not by that point. I mean, they had at some point in the past, and the indigenous people that they were colonizing didn't have slavery. Like, not really. Like, maybe way further south.
Yeah,
But
I
like
still
in
don't
the parts
understand
of
where
the
you're
country
really
that
going
they're
with it.
actually
Like,
colonizing.
yeah, you discredit the
Well, no,
founding fathers.
again, I'm rebutting. I'm not. I'm just rebutting your idea that there's a morality of the time that we can judge them by instead of judging them just by morals, right? Like there are people at the time that had a different morality that recognized what they were doing was wrong. That it wasn't of the time. They had a different set of morals, and they wanted to base a society based on Rome, and Rome was a slave society with the Senate.
Yeah.
Like that's how it ran. The wealthy people, it was a wealthy oligarchy, like
Well,
that
you
could
can
vote.
certainly make an
The
argument
Senate.
that a lot of it was developed for a ruling class, or they thought that not every, and they made it clear that they didn't, that's why they didn't go direct democracy, right? Because the founding fathers knew that the average American citizen was not educated enough and that there would have to be sort of different classes specifically related to, knowledge and acumen in order to that, and that's why they didn't want direct democracy, and they had to go representative democracy because they knew they needed people who understood politics at a different level and be educated. So there's that.
I don't think that was the reason. I think you're giving them a whole lot of grace.
Hey,
Like,
listen,
I think it's
I
mostly-
have no problem giving them a whole lot of credit because they did help develop the greatest system of government the world has seen with all of its warts and flaws. And
That is extremely nationalistic viewpoint. Like that's nationalism. When you're saying that the country you so happen to be born in has the greatest form of government that's ever existed, you don't think that that's like a little bit like weirdly nationalistic?
no, I think it's actually mostly factual. And I have a lot of problems with, I'm not an
Factual.
American
That's
apologist.
fascinating.
There's been so many other governments that have based their constitutions and their laws of the land based on our constitution because it was
Our constitution was based off the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. Why wasn't that the greatest constitution ever written?
maybe prior to that it was.
Well, ours was based off of it. So, like, if ours is based off of it, why not the other constitutions that were based off of it?
Because no one knows
I'd
about
say
them.
that, like, well, you don't know about them.
Right.
Lots of people know about different, like, lots of people know about different forms of government
All
that have
right. So
existed.
you're right.
since the American
Actually,
Constitution.
I'll give you credit for that. You're right. It's a little too nationalistic. All right. So I'll tone it down and be a little bit more not so nationalistic or patriotic about it. But when I view, and I've lived in other parts of the world as well, and I believe America has a lot of flaws, but American democracy as a whole, as its intention or as its evolution from its original vision, has set the world on its course for the last 80 years to be the most peaceful time in human history. So you
That's
have
not
to,
accurate.
that is accurate by all accounts, that this is the most peaceful time in human history has been the
not
last 8
accurate.
years. Why is
That's
that
not
accurate?
accurate.
No,
Because
that's
there were like plenty of points in history in parts of the world where like there was like 500 years of peace, like the Indian trade, Indian Ocean trade from like 800 to about 1300 AD. It was like 500 years of peace in like most of the world, right? Like when you look at when you look at the Pacific trade, or even right before colonization here, there's about 400 or 500 years of peace before the Dutch showed up on the East Coast throughout most of North America, right? Like this idea that like this is some special time in history, that's like just not accurate. It's
oh, it
just
is
like not
accurate.
a
I
very
will disagree with that 100%. Europe in its monarchies
wrong.
were in constant war. The Roman Empire and the Europe monarchies and
Europe is a tiny corner of the world, TK.
it's
You have a
always
very
been it's
Eurocentric
been
view
in
of history.
Middle East and Europe has been incredibly important, the center of the world for historically speaking, the most relevant 2,000 years of history has centered around the Middle East and Europe. Now,
Well,
if you want to go back before
to
then,
center your history on it, China has 5,000 years of history too.
All right, we're,
Like that's like very very much a well developed and well understood history that like we could talk like I don't even I'm not even that well versed on. And when you say the Middle East, I think that that's part of what I was talking about. The trade between the Middle East, India, and China during like the latter half of the caliphate
sure.
was a very peaceful time in the world. It was for like 400 or 500 years. It was very peaceful because they had relatively well balanced powers that were trading in like an actual like mutually beneficial way. So there wasn't a lot of reason for war at the time. That's just the reality of it. You know, like people generally have wars over resources. That's usually what wars are about. When we look at World War II, it was because of the scramble for Africa. Like they were fighting World War I and World War II were largely wars over resources that started in other parts of the world and eventually made their way back to Europe.
Sure. Geopolitics and resources are always, and religion.
Right, like
are,
the U.S. got into World War II because we were fighting with Japan over colonies in the Pacific.
right.
That's
Absolutely.
that's like the reality. Like you could say like all these other whatever.
Right. And
the
since
Great
the end of World War
whatever.
II, there was supposed to, Roosevelt and our allies put in a new world order that disputes are going to be settled diplomatically, right? And that has
Is that what we did when we bombed Laos and Cambodia and Vietnam? Like, did
I
a
will not
genocide
defend
in
I would not
and then-
defend a lot of American actions that we've taken, but
I mean, the second World War II ended, we immediately got into a war in Korea. Immediately, it was like right away.
for what reason?
Like, there's like, because we didn't like the idea that they could democratically choose communism. That's what happened in Korea.
All right. And we saw where fascism and communism were going towards, right? In World War II.
Yeah, communism has lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, created some of the greatest uplifting of like human life expectancy.
So has
education,
the past 80 years of democracy of a self-ruled world order.
No, not really.
Yes, it
When we
has.
look at poverty and you subtract China from the last like 40 years, poverty's a flat line for the last 40 years unless you include China.
Yeah, we'll look that up.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Rick, your profile picture, where are you at in that picture?
Chongqing,
Is that how many times have you been there?
just the once.
Okay.
All right. And you're an American, Rick, right? And what generation? Are you Gen X or millennial?
I'm millennial,
Okay.
right in the middle.
Can I ask him a question?
Yeah.
What's your ideal vision of what we do in this country then?
In this country, I don't have a lot of hope for America, honestly. I see it falling apart because it's a collapsing empire. It's a fading empire. It's doing all the fading empire stuff.
But you don't have any solutions because you seem to be very knowledgeable in what you talk about, and you're very.
I'm mostly
passionate.
as far as the United States is concerned, I support like the land back movement. That's like I think land back. I think it's priority number one. This is the same with Israel, right? Like give the Palestinians their land back, and here we did the same thing. We did the exact same thing just 200 years earlier. That's like how America is built. It's built off of genociding indigenous people and taking them. That's what America's built on a graveyard. And until we reckon with that, we can't actually make any claims to like moral superiority in the world or say that we're the best system ever when we still like have like I'm like right now about just a couple miles from a reservation. I don't know how much time you guys spend near reservations or on reservations, but it's like very, very clearly it's like an apartheid system. We still have it. We haven't eliminated it yet. And there's a whole lot of treaty land that is legally a bunch of different indigenous nations legally are owed a whole bunch of treaty land that like if at the very least we could start there. And when you look at land back movement, that's usually what they say is like, hey, what about our treaty land? Like we should actually have sovereignty over that. They don't, like it's a fight every time they want to express sovereignty over their own nations. Like we have their indigenous nations still here, like starting with like Puerto Rico and Hawaii and like Navajo Nation and Lakota and like where I'm at is the Ojibwe and like the different Chippewa bands, like there's like a whole bunch of like people we owe a lot of fucking land to. And like what would the US look like after that? I don't know. But like that's where I say that like things need to start.
All right. So obviously, Rick, you're a pessimist about the future of America. And hey, you have your right to your opinion.
I'm an optimist about the future generally.
Yep, that's fine. Okay. Well, I view democracy has always been messy. It's been an experiment. There's been a lot of genocide and other things like you rightfully bring up. I'm not going to dispute those. Those are accurate and fair in many cases. But American values of whether you believe we've been moving towards those, but generally as a doctrine, right? Liberty and freedom, equality, self-government, self-rule, individualism, and rule of law, and all those things. Those are things that we should always be aspiring to. And you may not believe in that as your position, but that's why someone like me and you may have different views, and you might be a pessimist, and I am as well in many regards. But I believe most
I'm
Americans.
not a pessimist. I'm not a pessimist at all. I just don't think that there's much of a future for America, and realistically, I think that's a good thing.
Well, again,
It's like,
yeah.
like I don't think that's a pessimistic thing.
So then
I think
where would you go, Rick? Where would you go? If you would go somewhere, where would you go?
I mean, I'm planning on moving to China. I'm like going to be there this winter. I might have to come back. My father's pretty elderly, so I kind of have to like be with my family still while he's still here. Um, but like, I don't know. I try to take every winter and go somewhere. I've been to like Vietnam. I went to Laos and China for a little while last winter. I want to do longer in China this time. Probably go back to Vietnam for a bit. I enjoy it there. I don't know. Like it's there. Like there are trade offs. No society is perfect. Like I have criticisms too, but like if I had to choose to have been born here or in China, I wish I was born in China. I'll tell you that much. like, uh, even considering the history, like especially since like the last 40 years or so, I feel like a lot of people who are like a little bit older than me and older have this very uh, 2002 idea of what China is today. And it's just not like that. It's
So,
just like
Upstate
when people
Michael,
describe what's going on
Upstate
there, I think
Michael has a great
it's very
question
clear.
for you, Rick. I'm going to ask it for you, Upstate Michael. Would you renounce your citizenship?
Would I renounce my
Yeah, let's say your
citizenship if I could
father,
get citizenship?
if you didn't have to care for your father and so forth, would you renounce your citizenship and move somewhere else?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
So is that
Yeah,
your plan? Is that
fuck
what
it.
you want to do?
I don't like moving to China is difficult. I don't know if I'll be able to.
Oh, why,
The other
why
question
is
in the
that, by
chat
the
is more
way?
well, the other question in the chat is more interesting. It says, "What skills do you have to offer?" Because I, grew up, in like, working class, and my parents didn't have like that much money. I didn't go to college, so I don't have a degree, and that makes it hard to immigrate anywhere because I would have to pay for a degree out of my own pocket or like take out loans and then pay them. I probably wouldn't have been able to pay them back because at the time I would have had undiagnosed autism. So that's a whole other thing. But like, this is the thing is like in the U.S. like we have like that like you have to have a certain amount of money to get the fuck out of here. Whereas a lot of other places, if you were just doing good academically, you can emigrate to other places. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Trump Prophet has a great question. Is like China, well, not question, but statement, but China is not in the habit of accepting immigrants that don't benefit them. I think the same could be
sure.
applied to Japan, right? Even a democratic nation like Japan. There's a
But that's
lot.
weird that you say Japan's a democratic nation. It's a one-party state. Japan has had the same ruling party the entire time except for 3 years since 1945.
Rick, can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Can I, is there, what's, okay. You seem like a very smart guy. And the things that you've been talking about, it seems like you've read up and you're very passionate. I just want to know, like, is there not one thing that you would change here to make it better? To that, what would be the one thing that would change that would make you want to stay here?
Um, like I said, I already said that. I said like land back. If people got serious about that, it would be
You
clear
want
to
us to
me.
give all the land back.
What's up?
You want us to give all the land back.
All the treaty land, all the land that says the treaty says is theirs. Yeah, I think that's like only fair.
To which nations? You're talking about the Native Americans?
There's a whole bunch of different nations. There's like a whole bunch of them that have different land claims, and most of them don't overlap with each other. They just like are owed land from the U.S. Like the Lakota should have like most of the Black Hills. They
This is
don't.
a
They have
never
every.
ending cycle of people claiming they used to have a land. Like, when is it going to stop? Like, yes, there's been lots of genocide and other aspects and wars that shouldn't happen in order to take land and take resources. But
You believe we should honor our treaties or not? You're the liberal here. You believe in this stuff, right? You believe that the letter of the law is important and the rule of law, and like liberalism is part of the liberalism is this idea of the rule of law. The United States government signed a treaty with another nation. They should honor it. Period.
don't disagree with that.
Yeah. Well, then give them the land back.
Okay.
Like fucking.
Well, all right. I'm
Like-
gonna kill this topic because it leads to nowhere. I think you have your views, and that's great. Have your views. I think they're absurd views. Personally, I don't think there's any way to go back. Do you want China
You-
to give
you
its
think
land
that-
back to parts of
These are
Russia and
your
vice
views.
versa? But I want to just
These
change.
are your views. No, you're the one who wants letter of the law liberalism.
Yeah, going
right? Like, that's
forward
the
and
treaty.
continuing to
Follow the
evolve and be
treaty.
better. But I want to challenge and
Follow
fact.
the treaties.
Let me fact check you on something. So you are very, very knowledgeable on aspects, and I'll give you a chance to respond because I just looked it up. So you said Japan is not a democracy. So
No, I said it's a one-party state. I didn't say it wasn't a democracy.
it's a parliamentary
not-
democracy. So, but you said it's right. You said it's one ruler, and you said it's not a democracy, didn't you?
No,
say
I
that?
said it's one party has been in power the entire time except for 3 years. is what I
Okay,
said.
so what's wrong? What's wrong? There's nothing saying just because it's one party doesn't mean it has to be. It's not a democracy. You could
Okay,
have
so
10
then
parties, and you
China
can have
could be a
one party.
democracy too, yeah.
What's
Because
that?
China has 9 political parties, and it's a parliamentary democracy as well.
All right. Well, I'll look that up because according to everything here, that the political system of Japan is a constitutional monarchy. It has one emperor, but that's just a symbolic figurehead with no governing power. And the real governing authority lies in the National Diet, which is Japan's parliament, which has 2 chambers, a House of Representatives and a House of Councils.
Yeah, both controlled by the same party for forever.
All right. With
Like,
different representation. So we'd have to go deeper. But if you said it was not a democracy, obviously it's a one-party system. It's still considered a democracy.
well, I'm just saying that like, what I'm saying is like, if you're going to say that like Japan is a democracy, you should also say that China is a democracy because their systems are remarkably similar. And like the only thing that people ever throw at China to say it's not a democracy is that it's a one-party state. It's like they just win the elections. That's just how that works, like they're popular because they actually get shit
Well,
done.
Russia claims they're a democracy as well, right? So, I mean,
Sure.
where does the democracy end
The
start?
United States, right? So does the United States.
Well, it is
Claims to be
technically it is a
democracy.
representative democracy, but we all know it's not functioning as a very healthy one. That's
Well,
for sure.
It's an oligarchy, right? Like we know it's an oligarchy from like multiple like Ivy League studies, like
Well, earlier you were talking, TK, about China will implode on itself.
every 2 years, man. If you read the Western press, China is going to collapse in 6 months all the time. It's like fusion energy is always 10 years away.
No.
China's always like 18 months away from a total collapse, always.
I've never heard that. I've heard now you're talking about a decade or 2 decades in 2050 when their population is half of what it is today. Then you can start talking about collapses.
I don't understand how they think that's bad. Like all that happens when the population goes down is wages go up. Like that's what happened.
It's the same problem that Italy has, that Germany has, that Japan has, that China has, is their aging population is significantly larger than their young generation, and the young generation has to pay for the aging generation, which creates incredible strains on their economies and on their governments, and often forces those governments to lash out in order to take more territory, like to have this sort of patriotic or nationalistic ideologies, right, to stay in power. So all those countries, some of them democracies, some of them not, they all have the same problem with lower birth rates. How is a country cannot get more powerful and more economically wealthy when it has a collapsing society in terms of demographics?
See, this is what you're talking about. When you consider growth, yes, it reduces growth, but wages increase because there's fewer workers and there's like more jobs. Like you said, you have more people to take care of. There's more workers, fewer workers. That's just supply and demand, and it increases wages. This is the thing. There's a book, Caliban and the Witch by Sylvia Federici, and she talks about this happening in the 13th century after the plague, or the 14th century, I guess, like 1300s. And after the plague, like the wages like double, and this is like when the church starts to get really like restrictive, like starts really applying like the stuff against. They start going out. The reason it's called Calvin. They start going after what they call witches, which are like women who know how to like make abortifacients mostly, and they could keep a lunar calendar. They switch from the lunar to the solar calendar, so that makes it harder for women to track their cycles because they want to increase birth rates. And they start going after queer people. That's like it all happens like in that same century because at the time it was mostly the wealthy class were mostly the priest class. That was like who was running the show at that point in Europe under like any of the Catholic regions. And so like that's when you see the church really changing and start to become really like reactionary, have reactionary sexual politics because of this. Like they want to increase birth rates, and like if you look at the people who want to increase birth rates, it's people like Elon Musk. They're telling you, oh, we need to increase birth. Of course he wants that because it keeps wages down. The more people they have, because they realized after the plague, if they could just keep the birth rates low, that they'd all get paid more and have a better quality of life. And so like I don't think it's like really a problem as long as people are being taken care of. Also, it's worth pointing out that like China, for elderly people, what they've done is like basically cut costs rather than trying to give like lots of welfare. So like you don't have property taxes in China, and almost everybody owns their own home by the time that they're elderly because like housing has been kept cheap. They like pop housing bubbles when they get too out of control, and then everyone's like, "Oh, look, their housing market collapsed." You know, like they have a plan. Like unlike in like most countries, they have a plan. They make a plan every 5 years for the next 5 years, and they make a 50-year plan.
Well, Xi makes a
adjust it.
plan, right?
You know, like they have a plan.
Right, right. Okay, we're getting to a little bit way too far off a topic, so I'm going to try and bring it in. And by the way, Rick, for future, I don't know if you can hear the echo. I don't think you have a TV on in the background, but some reason.
No, it's just I'm on my boat, so it's just like echoey in here. Sorry.
Okay, so we get some feedback, which is not ideal for other people listening. It's not awful, just wanted to let you know because we've had some of these issues in the past.
He's on a boat.
It's on a boat. He's on his way to China.
How's you got a boat, Rick?
Yeah, it's like a little sailboat. I stay on it when I'm working.
I think Upstate Michael probably wants you to sail that boat over to China, and he's going to help pay for your way over there.
If you want to pay for my way over to China, I will. Like you can cash at me. Like, I promise.
Drop
I'll
a
stay as
Venmo
long
in
as
your
you can.
profile, and maybe Upstate Michael will help you out. I'm not offering any free rides. Sorry.
I think I like Rick's critical perspective somewhat, but I also feel like we do get stuck in this like mental game of being ashamed of where we're from. And then that cycles into a whole psychological disruption in oneself of like you get this like state of paralysis. Like what do we now we're just not going to do anything because we suck.
Right.
Like-
Let's just keep apologizing and go backwards, and let's not try and fix things moving forwards.
Have you ever met an anti-Zionist Israeli?
Have I?
Yeah,
I can't personally say that I have.
I have, and it was refreshing because I felt a certain kinship towards him because it's like if you recognize the history of the United States and what it is and like actually in reality like take it into account, it's like that's the only way you can look at it. It's like this country is founded on a genocide. The people who founded it had slave teeth in their mouth. Like you can't make this up, right? Like it's fucked up, right? Like it's
They were also passing away at very early ages and had to do a lot in a short amount of time. And
every one of our ancestors has done some horrible things. And
Yeah.
I supposed to be the one that's reckoning those misgivings, or you or anybody else? Are you supposed to apologize them when you're not around? Like
that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that maybe you shouldn't go around saying things like the guy with slave teeth in his mouth came up with the best government that's ever existed. Like he
no,
probably
I
didn't.
wholly disagree with you. Yeah, you can
Probably didn't.
you still
You're
have
talking about
to
the document with the 3/5 compromise in it.
you,
Like
again, the moral integrity of the morals of those times are different. You
They
have to
aren't.
recognize that they are different. Of course they were.
This is like a boomer take. I'm sorry. This idea that like morals were different in the past, they weren't. There were some more immoral people with power
Then
that
why?
wrote
Okay, so
into
if these
existence.
immoral people were
Like
so
that's
immoral, if these people are so immoral, why wouldn't they? Why would they even consider moving to a new form of government? Why wouldn't they just have been very clear that we're going to have a
they
monarchy?
had to. They had to. They had to create a system that was as close to being a monarchy as possible because otherwise they knew that they were going to have a whole series of like kings killing each other really fast. Like
Yeah.
like
You
basically the
have your
deal.
views, Rick.
They didn't have a royal family.
Yeah,
They didn't have a royal family to work with, right? You can't make a monarchy without a royal family, and so the next best thing is to do the Roman thing, which
eh,
is what they did. And Rome was a slave society. When the Romans talk about freedom, they mean the freedom to treat your slaves however you want. Like
okay.
that's what
And
they
then
did.
we got
Like
out
the
of being
Grecian
a slave
Crown.
society after the 14th Amendment and right and the
We didn't.
16th president.
We didn't though. We didn't though because we
No,
still have 2 million slaves in the United States in the prison system.
okay, that's okay. Now you can have that's such a
Oh,
leap. You're making such a leap.
it's
So
not a leap. No, it's an objective fact because the 13th Amendment says except for as punishment for a crime. And the reason that you can pay people in prison less than minimum wage or nothing at all is because it's legal to enslave people if they've
okay.
been convicted
All
of a
right.
crime.
I'm not going to go down this route anymore because I don't think most Americans would
I
agree
thought
with
that
you.
everybody knew about this in 2020 after George Floyd, and there was that movie 13th where they talk about all this, and like weren't paying attention. I guess I don't know. I thought that like these are just like basic common facts as far like I'm concerned. They're like, you want to be like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know what planet y'all live on. Like that's really what it's coming
I
down
think a
to.
lot of
Like
people in the
if I
comments
watch
would
a
ask
show,
you. I think a lot of people in the comments would ask you the same
no,
thing.
but this is why I always tune into your shit because you always talk about like there's like this divide in the U.S. Like there is, but you act like the divide is between Democrats and Republicans. But when you look at the actual stats of like the people and what people believe, it is way wider than that. You were talking earlier about how you had like a Christian nationalist on for a while and how he sounded very intelligent, which is a weird thing to say about a Christian nationalist.
He knew his
Like I
subject matter.
guess.
He certainly knew his subject matter.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
It's
I
like
mean,
you know your subject matter, at least
Right. In
allegedly.
his views, right? And in the way he thinks and his views of the world, Rick knows his subject matter just like a Christian nationalist would know their subject matter in their views of the
here's
direction
the
they want the
thing.
world to go in.
If I had to chop it up, and this is just like doing rough numbers based on like random polls, like it says about 30% of people I think under 40 have a positive uh, view of communism, and like 60% have a positive view of socialism, right? There also are a lot of straight up white nationalists, like you've met them on here, I'm sure. There's a lot of like vague, like rural bigots that don't really like have they aren't part of some ideological cult, but they also are racists. Like just by like the
All
very
right.
nature of growing up in an apartheid fucking state. And then you have like this percentage that are liberals, and like these are the only people you're talking about. When I watch your thing, it feels like you're talking to people who are like they vote regularly and like they might vote for either side, but they like are never like trying to like actually change the political system. But like now suddenly it's become clear to y'all that like the political system isn't working that well because liberalism is actually like it's Wile E. Coyote off a cliff, basically.
Well,
You just haven't looked down.
extreme
That's like
liberalism to communism. But anyway, Rick, we sort of always get way off topic, and that's okay. I
communism
don't
is
mind.
not liberalism.
Rick,
That's not what
let me
liberalism
finish.
is.
Let me finish, Rick.
Sorry.
All right. We always get a little off topic. There's another person waiting to join, so I'm gonna let them join, and I'll probably see you in another live in the future. But I always appreciate your points of view. We obviously have very different views of the world, and that's cool. So thanks for joining.
All right, man. Peace easy.
Thanks. All right. So let me know if in the comments. I don't mind having these conversations, even if at times I learn something. It's totally fine with me. But if you think that I should cut people off if they're going in a view that's completely different or maybe straying off course, and I've seen some people in the comments mention that. So cool. Evan, appreciate Rick's perspective. I do as well. So if people enjoy it or appreciate it, I'm all for it. And there's another person called Antony36. I'm going to have you join us as well, give us your perspective. Now, do you remember, Mr. Global, when we were actually talking about if we created a new political party, what the name would be? But obviously, we've gotten way off course.
I think that's what you said. I'm pretty sure there's a prompt on the screen, but I did implore some questions, so part of that's probably my fault.
Well, we had a lot of great suggestions, and it seemed like most of the people leaving comments, I sort of ran out. They kept being repeated the same thing. The People's Party, thanks, Branby. We'll continue to watch the comments on what should we name a political party, even though, like Rick said, we are putting the cart not just in front of the horse, we are putting the cart like a Milky
The
Way.
horse isn't even in the scene
It's
yet.
not even in the scene yet, absolutely, but it's something to talk about. So, nonetheless, Mr. Anthony, I think that you're in. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How are you this evening?
Good. How you doing today?
Good. I would name it Go Get You a Real Job. And the other part would be far as eliminating corruption, it would never happen. I mean, it's a nice thought because it would never happen because you're dealing with human beings. See, people kind of think government like it's some kind of ghost, some kind of entity that floats around the government. Well, the government is people.
That's right. I say that all the time.
Okay.
It's not a mythological creature. It's people. Absolutely.
It's people, and it's people that are running it, and you have good people, bad people,
Mhm.
stupid people,
Yes, sir.
ignorant people that are politicians all day long. I see them all the time. I won't call any names. You know who they are.
Yep.
And so you run across those so much. I did want to kind of piggyback on what the other guy was talking about earlier and the things about that. And one of the things I said, America, the United States is a very young country compared to so many other civilizations that are thousands of years old. He talked about China. He talked about Japan. He talked about them. Go back and look at their history and their sordid history and look at the wars and all the things that they did and the genocides that they did. Look at Africa, okay? Before even you can go back there, thousands of years. Look at Rwanda. Look at all the other things that they had, what it was doing, genociding other own black nations as well. And so, and then I think it's a genocide because of ABs against blacks in this country, because blacks are the largest number percentage wise of ABs that are done. And you get into the Margaret Sanger things and get into all that other stuff. But this other thing was this too. There were 3,700 free blacks that owned slaves.
Hmm.
You don't hear about that.
I do remember reading about that in the past, but yeah, that's a good point. Okay.
And Anthony Johnson, as a matter of fact, was one of them where he went to the Supreme Court where he kept somebody over being a slave who was very, very rich. Matter of fact, there was a black woman in Louisiana. Louisiana. She owned a sugar plantation. And she got mad with her husband and sold her husband to her white neighbor.
Wow.
Okay, so we don't get all of these histories and get all these things. Then you got the 5 tribes. You got the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Creek, and the Seminole. They all had slaves. They had white slaves and they had black slaves as well. And when they talk about Juneteenth, they talk about the time when they're saying, they didn't know until a long time. Well, the Indians kept their slaves longer. See, people don't get all of this stuff and get all these things. So we all have a sordid history. I don't know of one country that has perfect history, period. So that guy, he should just buy him an island or find him a place and anchor his boat on and move there and live there by himself. Okay, live by himself.
I think he's okay. I just wish he would provide some solutions. He's just kind of very negative about it. And I feel like we're overwhelmed with negativity, and I feel like at some point you've got to make the decision, like, what are we going to do now?
I think that's what Anthony is. You're promoting. You're basically saying that our entire human history of all civilizations are built on genocide and discrimination and so forth. And it doesn't matter what race, religion you come from. It's just been the history of humanity. And my argument would be it doesn't have to be that way. Of course, that's the history. We've seemingly been moving in a better direction in American history. still with tremendous flaws. So would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, because if you go back, look at the Incas. Man, I can go on and say one race after the next race or whatever, and what they did and how they did from the other side, and the Romans, what they did. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You can pull out every one that we're saying, but with the history of us being 250 years old, or maybe a little bit more before you go to the colonies, but I'm talking about established as the United States. Yes, it has moved in a better direction than what it was.
Are you,
Just from
Anthony, are
60
you a
years
Black
ago.
American?
Yes, I am, and I was born and raised in the South, and I saw the white only water fountains, and you couldn't sit at the 5 and dime stores and those things where I came from and there, but I never used it as a crutch. I'm successful. It's anecdotal, but there are still a lot of Black folks that are successful, and not just on poor white folks as well. It just bothers me so much. Not that you bury your head. I'm not saying that and saying that there are in injustices, or that there's been injustice and there are injustices today. They are. Let me tell you when injustices stop. When everybody on the planet is dead and gone, okay? And only the animals left. But then you think about it, it's injustices in the animal kingdom.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you see bigger preys and bears and other things, and take out a little animal. Take out a little rabbit. Don't you think that's an injustice for a small rabbit when something big takes it out and want to eat? I mean, you can look at that. I'm being asinine about what I'm saying, but what I'm saying is this: I'm more optimistic in my lifetime than I've ever been over my 68 years of life of what I've seen, and I've lived through 15 presidents. And of course, I'm going to make it regardless of what president is in office, because I work on what I need to do for myself and for my family, and I'm not waiting on anybody. But one thing I can say is I thank God for the opportunities. If I was so pessimistic, I would miss the opportunities in life. You cannot be so pessimistic and negative and see the opportunities, because you will miss them.
That's what's happening to a lot of Gen Z these days.
Exactly. They will look and see those things, and you can see them around. Look, there, even during the stock market crash, people still made money. People lost money. It was bad. But you know what? Even in the worst of times of things, still people can pull themselves up. Just think about COVID.
Yep.
And more people made more money, changed their thoughts, started more businesses and entrepreneurs than they ever been in a time. COVID was bad, but at the same time, it also was a lining it forced people to think differently, to reinvent themselves. And that's the human nature. That's the United States nature, and that's the nature of every other country and every person that has a human being.
So
Some are more developed than others.
you started this conversation by saying American is such a young democracy and a country as a state, right? So would it be fair to say that you, as a Black American, still aspire to what America is supposed to, or the direction it was headed towards, right? With more equality, with all its imperfections. Do you still believe in the aspirational view that even the white founding fathers set forth for the American democracy, or is that false?
Well, whether you think about it, it had to be. I look at the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. Okay, look at look at the 1964 and 65.
Right,
Okay,
civil rights movement, of
look
course.
at that, and then civil rights. Right? Well, that the civil rights, that was for everybody. It wasn't for one color. Some people who want to look at it and say, "Oh, that was for the Black." No, it wasn't. It was for every individual. It doesn't state color in there. Okay, it states not based on sex, based on this, based on that, based on this, based on those things. And so they have the opportunities. One thing I'm not delusional of is that as humans we are, but for as humans we're equal in those things. But we're not equal in everything and never will be. Some of us are fat, some of us are skinny, some of us are tall, some of us are short, some of us born with all our fingers, and some aren't born with all of our fingers. Some of us don't have. Some of us are more engaged in other things. Like I'm a person that's very, very, because I'm a farmer as well, but I can work on a lot of things. I'm very, very multi-talented person. Have more, but I pursue them. Okay, and some people are very good at that one particular thing that they do or whatever, but everyone has a talent. Now it's whether your talent is worthy that it's going to solve a problem that will make a living for you. Okay.
Right.
That's why I don't understand that guy he was talking about. He didn't go to college, he didn't have all the money and everything else. Why didn't he look at a trade? There's so many trades. He could have been a plumber, electrician, pipe fitter,
Well,
welder.
well, to his defense, he's an advocate for communism, and he just would rather have everyone be completely equal and have the same amount of economic ability as everyone else. So that's sort of his position. He's for like the communism of extreme fairness, or not. I wouldn't say fairness, but where the economy is the state, right? And everyone, there's no capitalism essentially, right? So to his, even though he's not here, and he would obviously,
But you know the thing about it is that is a fallacy.
oh, of
Because if
course,
you take,
of
if
course,
you take, I'm gonna give an example. You take 10 people. If I take 10 people and put them out in the field that are working, that are picking my vegetables or working or hoeing or whatever it might be from the other gardens, not picking cotton because we have cotton machines, to pick those. But the other things that we're picking are picking strawberries or might be picking from the trees. You have 10 people. 3 of them gonna outdo the other 7 because nobody carries the weight the same. Somebody's always going to lax and have a lack of their. So if I'm carrying more of the weight, why should you reap more from the benefits from my labor? That is asinine.
sure.
Eventually, that person is going to be upset with you.
Well, and the absurdity of it is, of course, even in communism, you're always going to have elites that are exploiting that system for their own benefit. That's happened on both the fascism
Ex-
side and the communist side.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
absurdity at its very notion that you can create a society of equal people that have equal economic conditions. Oh, and yet, except there's a ruling party that can bear the fruits of everyone else's labor.
Well, also, I think, can you also put capitalism into that too?
Oh, of course, but that's why you're supposed to have a government that regulates capitalism to prevent those sort of abuses,
Sure.
right? So that would be the argument there. Now, Anthony, I want to ask you one thing. You also said you would never, and I understand where you're coming from, you'd never eliminate the big money corruption from politics. But the fact is, and we never have, right? There's always been money in politics, infiltrated corruption in our politics. But you've lived through Reagan, through Bush, and through Clinton, and through Citizens United in 2014. Now, we have lessened the regulation behind the corruption. So there's more corruption and more money in politics than there ever has been before, by a magnitude of probably 100 or 1,000x.
I would agree.
Right. And you're saying, and I agree, if people don't rise up behind that issue, you're right. We will never eliminate corruption from politics. And when I say eliminate, I use that word loosely, right? But reduce or try and eliminate corruption from politics. And you're right. If you don't have enough rising tide or movement of people, it will never happen. But the problem you have here is if you continued not to push back and try and eliminate corruption, then you lose our American democracy. The young country that it is doesn't become a democracy whatsoever, even though today it's already not functioning as a democracy. It's functioning more of a corporatocracy. And if we continue down that route, we will not have a democracy by any sense of the word. And you will probably not even have a corporatocracy. You'll ultimately have an authoritarian government or even a fascist government at some point. Like, that's the problem with America being a young democracy. It either has to evolve on the right course, and people, its electorate and its citizens, have to force it on that course. Because if they just turn a blind eye and don't get involved in civics, and there's been many quotes about the founding fathers have used that, democracy essentially is not a spectator sport, right? It's participation. So if
Exactly.
we don't participate and try and eliminate corruption, we will lose the empire, if you want to call it that, will completely fail and will be something entirely different. And then all the opportunities that you, me, and Mr. Global have been afforded throughout our lives will not be afforded to those future generations.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree on the point of this. Is what I'm saying. I think it should be term limits. Period. And Congress, they should have done it. done it a long time, but they don't want to do it, and we know a reason why. It's basically this: is money, power, and control. Those are the three. Those are the three things that you have. Because even if I don't have money, if I have some power, I can get the money.
That's right.
If I have control, I can get the power. You see what I'm talking about?
Of
But
course.
when I have all three of them together, then it makes it a beast. So if we would do this and say, no one could give, no one person, company, thing, dog, insect, or whatever can give over $100. Period. Done. Okay, $100.
Yep.
That's all you can give.
So I don't know if have you listened to any of my lives or videos in the past, Anthony?
No, I haven't. This is the first time I've seen you.
Okay. My sort of, if you want to call it platform, is based on, not fighting about issues between red or blue. It's about just simply two things. Eliminating corruption from our government, meaning special interest money, corporation money, and all elections need to be publicly funded by individuals, meaning human beings. And representation needs to be for the people, by the people. That would be my 28th Amendment. And then followed by, because there's 27 amendments now, right? And the 28th Amendment would be that. So politics has to be by the people, for the people. And then the 29th Amendment should be that being a politician cannot be a career. It needs to be a temporary civic service, which means term limits. So those are the two things that I think most Americans would agree with, and that would solve and put us on the right course back to where America has evolved up until like the early 2000s.
I agree. And the backside of that would be the backdoor money thing with the briefcases, which they're probably doing now today.
Right. Well, they don't need to do that. They do it right now, right in the open now. They do it with cryptocurrency and create coins.
Exactly.
Right. It's wide in the open right now. By the way, KF Yo said the term limit party. That's pretty cool.
And with the thing on it, what we were talking about with those, what they did used to do long time ago, they would go to Washington, do what they need to do their legislation, and go back home to their job.
That's right.
They used to do.
And
If they
there
were
are
lawyers,
millions
they
of
were
Americans
farmers,
that would do that.
or whatever they were. They went back. They didn't stay up there.
That's right. That's how it was supposed to be. The founding fathers envisioned politics as a temporary civic service and not a career. Like, this is not novel. It's not a novel idea. Neither of these ideas are novel. It's just trying to convince enough people to say, well, Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z, you better get your shit together and you better rise up and you better do something about it. Because if not, the interests that be, the special interests that be, whether it's the religious factions or the corporate factions or the foreign factions, they're going to take control over the United States, which they already have.
And the lobbyist situation, we've got that's another handle that's got to be taken care of. Those PACs and those lobbyists that are sitting up there, taking all this money and going up there and they're buying the interests of these people. Now, I don't knock millionaires, billionaires, and whatever. I'm very successful by the grace of God. I love capitalism. Capitalism has done very, very well for me, my family members. Matter of fact, many of our family members, and I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not saying this about being braggadocious. I'm just saying that many of my family members, and I'm talking about more than 100, are doctors, lawyers, business people, millionaires, multimillionaires, home ownerships, and everything else. College educated. Some are not as well college, but still are doing very well. Many make six-figure incomes plus seven-figure incomes, eight-figure incomes. Okay. So what I'm saying is, and so but that's not just us, but there are many folks that are making it. I'm just talking about black folk, okay? In this particular case. So there are many black folk that are doing well, but I hear so much about the complaints that we don't have the opportunities. We've been held down, the thumb. I'm telling you, no white man has ever had a thumb on me and stopped me from doing anything that I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah, but you have to also understand that being someone that's not Gen Z or a millennial, you also didn't grow up in this information age where your mind is being polluted and poisoned by what's happening today in the information world. So I can see it with my children and so forth. And I'm not saying that gives them a total excuse, but the fact is their politics impacts our mental health and our optimism or level of pessimism. and it has for generations and generations. Politics always affects us in some way. And obviously, what's happening with the information age, younger people today have been affected in ways sort of bombarded and poisoned with incredible amounts of hate and incredible amounts of blaming other people. So when you grow up with that through your adolescent stages, so when you're between 8 and 18 and you're consuming this, your view and of your opportunities in life, even though while maybe not from a practical sense impacted, even though they usually are, but your whole mindset is much more pessimistic and depressionary than someone who grew up, let's say, in the 80s and 90s, which was more optimistic. And you can see that in people, your friends that you talk to, or my kids and friends I talk to. It's just very evident that today's society, with the amount of information and poisoning our minds, has an impact. So while you're a super hardworking man and optimistic and so forth, I can't blame, because people are people, but we're all products of our environment. And our
I agree.
environment sets the tone for a lot of our success or failures.
I agree, but you know, also, just because you're a product of that environment and being in it as well, utilizing critical thinking, but you don't have to use it as a crutch either. Because I came up out of I was born in the projects, and there are many folks you know, that came up in the projects as well. And my parents ended up being a homeowner, and I come out of military family.
Yeah, but you might be
Well,
the
since my
exception. You might
lifetime,
be the exception and not the rule.
I'm not the exception.
Not
I'm
in a
not.
singular, not in a small, like percentage wise. People, it's factual that if you're born in the projects, your ability to get out of the projects is much less likely than if you're born in a middle class household, or and if you're born in upper class. So your economic starting point has a factually, percentage wise, an impact on whether you
I,
can
I
succeed or
agree.
not.
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, I was fortunate. Also, came from a two-parent family as well.
Right.
Even when I lived in the project, okay, I still had the two. So I get that, and I see that. And I see that advantage, and I don't minimize anyone else that didn't have it, because I had some family members that weren't in it as well. But you know what? The majority, even my sister, on my aunt's side, with her kids, that they didn't have their dad to grow up in their family, but we grew together and it was family unit. But you know what? They're doing well too. And I guess it might be it's a different age too, or time or whatever, that my parents also didn't teach me the blame game.
Right.
Okay.
So you're a
My parents
product of
never
your
taught me that.
environment, two parent household, and obviously parents that taught you the right way, right? So you're a product of your environment. Maybe all your success and optimism comes from that foundation that you were given.
And it does. That's given it. And I don't minimize that from anyone else that is an issue, that is a problem. But there are also many people that have been in that situation that are successful as well. There
That's
are a
right.
lot of them that's very
But they
successful.
tend to
So
be
what
the
I'm
more
saying
the
is,
outliers, right? They tend to be more the minority, not the majority.
yes,
No different than if
yes,
you're
I
born
agree.
white and you're born of privilege in a wealthy family, your ability to become successful, even if you're a
Ex-
dipshit, right?
Exactly. And that's what and what I like what you just said. It's not a black white issue. It's not a color issue on that side, because you have the same issues. What if you have someone that's white, or if someone is Hispanic, or someone is Asian? They come in that same situation and set them in the same setting. They're going to have the same issues too.
Right. Right.
Did
A
you?
lot of things in race that people talk, I'm going to wade into some, maybe as a white guy, wade into some controversial topics, but I don't think it's controversial at all. When they talk about, when some white Americans uh, blame aspects on black race of having issues, it's not about race. It's about culture, right? There's cultures in the white society that are just really, whether it's domestic terrorism, right? White Americans and domestic terrorism as the highest rate of terrorism. That's not a color issue. That's a culture issue, right? And that could be a religious issue. And when it comes to black Americans, sometimes when you're growing up in a no father household, that's a problem. And that's not a race issue. That's a cultural issue, that there happens to be a lot of black Americans that don't have fathers and they grow up with just their mothers, right? And so that's not race, it's culture.
Exactly. And because I can take myself from the South go to the north. I have relatives that are, that moved from the south and went up because they wanted to do better. They went to got the better jobs with the factories, with Ford, GM, Johnson and Johnson, and so forth, and all those other things. Did very, very well. Bought houses, sent their children off to college, and all those things as well. But then at the same time, when you have it down here of the culture issue, their mentality of thinking is different from me, just from the north and the south, and they're black. They're
Yep.
black in the north. I'm black in the south. Okay, we both same color, but we got a different culture because they live differently there.
Right.
Okay,
Yep. I lived in the
I'll
South
give you an
for
example.
15 years, and I grew up in the Northeast, and I saw that various different cultures. Like I grew up around a lot of cultures, and I went down to, of course, the South, where there was sort of a white Christian color or white Baptist culture, and then there was a different black culture as well, which was very different from the black culture that I grew up in the Northeast, and other aspects, whether it was the Jews or Italians or Irish and so forth.
Exactly. And then so those differences would be an example of giving the culture. A friend of my neighbor came from New Jersey, moved, bought a house next to me in the Atlanta area. We have yards. Okay, I'm not now. If you're out in the rural area, maybe the suburban areas, there you do. But if you live in the city area, they don't have. And they came down and they said we had a front yard and a backyard. But you know what? Their kids wanted to play in the street because that was their culture. I'm saying, why are you playing in the street? You have a yard. You have a front yard and a backyard. And I wouldn't allow my daughter to play in the street because that's not what we basically did down the south because we have a place. So that was a different culture for them, and it was okay for them. And I'm saying, no, you don't need to be out in the street because we don't generally see children running around in the street playing out in the streets. So that would be very dangerous for you to do. So that
Right.
so there are different cultures of where you are. And another thing too was this: I had friends from the north that would come out. They said, I had these people waving at me, and they were waving at me in my car. I don't know them. Why are they waving at me? I said, that's what we do. We do that. That's our culture.
It seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you may have a lot of religious influence, or maybe you went to church, Anthony.
Yes, I definitely have a spiritual relationship,
Yeah.
and I don't like to put it in and say Christian deal or whatever
You have
because
faith.
yeah, I have faith exactly, and because we got so many different denominations, and man has made so many denominations among the Christian faith, but I do have a basis. Now, my basis as a Christian that I believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior, that He died for my sins, and
Eh,
that's my basis. Okay, all the other stuff, whether you get baptized or not get baptized, or you do this or do that, that's man doctrine. So so that's happened with man.
I'm just going to take a little interruption here for a moment because people have been dropping in names. We've gotten so far off our topic, which is okay because these discussions are awesome, Anthony and Mr. Global. But I want to appreciate the people leaving the different names of political parties potentially. I can't believe it took so long for someone to say I would name it MAGA. Ha ha! You're so funny because MAGA thinks they're actually eliminating corruption from our political system. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so
Well, shouldn't think that, but
right, right.
hey,
Well, that's what
but
they
but
think, right? They're
but
cleaning
but,
out the
but
deep state and the swamp. So in their own minds. But anyways,
well,
I appreciate those comments.
I'm a conservative. In other words, I'm a moderate conservative, is what I am, and I've been that all my life.
Right on,
All right,
right on. So yeah, thanks for joining. I really appreciate your perspective, and if I hope to see you here again.
all right. Thank
All
you.
right.
I was in D.C. They didn't wave at me when I was up there. All right, take care.
Cheers.
Take care.
All right, where are you, what time zone are you on, Mr. Global?
I'm central.
Okay, you're central, so you're an hour ahead of me. I am mountain.
Oh, you're
Um,
mountain time.
Yeah,
Nice.
mountain time. So the audience has waned a little bit, but I do appreciate the audience that has put forth different suggestions because it is meant to be, even though the cart is before the horse. I do like to hear those. Obviously, Rick said it best in that respect. So appreciate all those comments and just if you haven't followed the channel, I please hope you do because this is not about blue versus red, left versus right. This is about eliminating corruption from government and getting people on board with understanding that if you really wanted to have happen, 50 to 70 million people I sound like a broken record many times, but I think this is the way politics works, right? You just have to continue politics and civics, keep pounding home that if there were 50 to 70 million people that wanted to eliminate corruption from politics, it could happen.
Yep.
And you could replace all career politicians. It's nothing in our Constitution that says you have to have a Democratic and Republican Party. There used to be many other candidates from many different parties that were part of our government in history, and nothing has changed since then other than some technicalities, but nothing prevents it from happening. So that's my, yeah. All right, back to the regularly scheduled program.
70 million.
That's what, 1 out of 8 people, 50 to 70 million. And people wonder, like, why is it 50 to 70 million? It's because if you have to go 150 million people vote in the general election, so you're not trying to get more voters necessarily, but hopefully you would, but you're trying to get obviously the existing amount of people that already vote. And if you get at least 1/3 of them, then you sort of cross the threshold because you would be taking those amount of voters from each of the existing people that vote for each party. So it's as low as 50 million. And we're not talking about a presidential election, right? We're talking about 536 politicians in terms of federal government. And you'd have to work on state and local levels as well. So it sounds crazy. But 50, as few as 50 million people could feasibly do it. And that sounds like a ridiculous number, but you get to 1 million first, and then maybe you get somewhat of a movement going, right? And then 1 million turns into 10 million. And once you get to 10 million, then things can start to move fast, much faster. And because now you have a wave, and you have a wave just sort of like the direction of what's happening with our country. You have a momentum and a flow, and it can't be stopped. So it's not about worrying about 50 million sounds impossible. It's more like, how do you get to 1 million? How do you get to
Sure.
1 million, right? And then you can really start taking, nothing, it's not linear, right? There's a J curve to it.
Well, you have, what did you say, 16,000 followers?
Woo! 16,000.
So I think that's a lot of followers.
That's
That's
not
a good start.
It's not even a ripple.
I think I disagree. I think that's a really good start.
If I was building a product like I have in the past, like mobile applications or something, yeah, it might be something, but it's not enough to really go anywhere, right? So, but it is something, right? You just have to think, I have to think more like what you're saying, and I do behind scenes. Like, yeah, 16,000 turns into 50,000, 50,000 turns into 100,000, 100,000 turns into 500,000. You have Mr. Beast on social media that has, what, 300 million, 150, 170, or 320 million, whatever it might be. Then you have other YouTubers that have tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of followers. So like these things aren't impossible. Am I the person to do it? I don't know. Are you the person to do it? I don't know. I don't really care. As
Yeah.
long as there's a lot of people voicing the same thing, then something will form and grow from it.
Yeah, you have to change the conversation. You got to create the narrative that we want, right?
Right.
At
And
least that's the idea.
Right. And there hopefully are moments in time where you get opportunities to expand that narrative, right? You grow your audience. Maybe you're on some other, whatever it might be. You just have to continue to speak to the universe, right? Like we talked about Dean Withers and Parker earlier. If they used their audiences, their 4 million audiences to do something similar, now they may be actually really solving problems versus the stuff that they do. And the same thing goes for the Charlie Kirks and the Ben Shapiro's. So, I
I
always,
have a feeling they've got somebody's pockets are helping them get where they are. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
I always wonder about, they have so many people, young people on their shows typically, and they're donating money to them constantly through Venmo and
Yeah.
other aspects. And they already have 4 million followers and hundreds of thousands and millions of views each month where they're monetizing that. So they're already doing incredibly well.
Right.
And they're not using it for anything other than to continue what they're doing. I just despise and dislike, like there's no end game. It's just playing within the same thing that everybody's already doing.
They have the power at that moment, right? Money, power. If you got the attention, they have it. It's kind of scary though, because I don't think it's I don't think they're aiming it in the right direction, but maybe they are. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think they're maybe just because they're young and they grew up in that same, we're products of our environment, thinking that you have to choose a side, and they're so ingrained in their mindset that, oh, we have to, oh, I can't stand Trump, so now I have to be the other side, and I have to
Right.
argue against Trump voters without critical thinking, and which they do have, but when it comes to their broad view, they don't seem to be critical thinking about doing something that's really meaningful.
Well, you don't. Your prefrontal cortex doesn't fully form until you're 26. So I don't think they're very advanced in the wisdom department. But maybe
You
I
can
don't.
take guys like David Pac-Man though as well. Like, are you familiar with Pac-Man? Pac-Man?
To be honest, I don't. But I could look it up.
Yeah, David Pac-Man. He's a liberal influencer, huge on YouTube, very well spoken, very intelligent. But it's the same thing. Like, he's just always pointing out the failures of the right, and instead of using the platform to actually do anything. And it's the same. It's just like Dean Withers. Maybe that's where they get it from. David Pac-Man is influential. I would say these people that we're talking about are less influential. And actually, it's not a thought. They clearly are by terms of views. I should probably
It's
do
the
a lot.
algorithm. It's what you were saying earlier. It's the algorithm.
It's the algorithm.
They've mastered the algorithm. They know how to work the computer to their advantage.
But YouTube's algorithm, for instance, is strictly based on view time, your ability, your click-through ratio. So clicking on a thumbnail, your titles, getting clicks, and the amount of view time. It's pretty much agnostic in terms of politics, at least my understanding of it. So why aren't there more people in the middle? Because if you can get the clicks and you can get people to watch,
Yeah.
but maybe you can't. I don't know. Maybe hate, right? As Gary Vee says, negativity is louder than positivity.
Yep.
And that's probably what it is.
Gary has a lot of good things to say. At
He
least I
does.
think he does.
He really does. He's very inspirational, right?
He's a good guy. At least you can tell that he's genuine.
Yes.
You know.
Well, that's why he's kind of like an outcast in Silicon Valley. As an investor, Gary Vee knows a lot of people used to be in that Silicon Valley grouping, but he's sort of an outcast because he doesn't subscribe to some of their bullshit that they do in the private
Right.
equity and Silicon Valley. There's a by the way, great suggestion. The Working Class Party, not that one. So thanks, Meemaw. Meemaw. Meemaw says, the Reform Party already went extinct. It's the Constitutional Party is gone. So, and the None of the Above Party. I like that one. A moral.
Rich had a good one. England, hard. What did he say? The Revival Party. That's a good one.
The Revival Party, Rich England, yeah. TRP, the Revival Party. Yeah, so they keep coming. I think people just scroll by, they drop a comment. This is what I named the party, and they're like, okay, well, I'm leaving. So,
Polaris even came back. It looks like
oh, I didn't see him in here.
he left a comment above Anthony earlier.
Oh, hey, the URL looks better. Oh, awesome. Look at him. He was on top of it. I actually changed the URL because of what he said. So thanks, Polaris. You're probably not here anymore, but you can see I made that change already. So yeah, and that's for the 19 people that are here. If you haven't read the plan, if you can see the plan, I probably think that some people probably still can't see it because of the way that TikTok does these things. But if you can see in the header, which is up there, there's a plan called tinyurl.com/TK Civics Plan. So Mr. Global and I are not just sitting here talking about all of our problems. There you go, Mr. Global showing it on the screen. It's a Medium article about the plan. I've had a few good comments on it. More and more people read it each week. And if you think it's a viable plan, someday on the live or on a video, I'm actually going to do a video on the plan because people these days reading is, that's a pretty arduous thing,
Who reads?
right? If it's more,
It's all propaganda, anyways.
yeah. So that's the
Just
sad part.
teasing.
I always thought that more people would read it, and I'm always bummed that more people aren't reading it. But I guess that's why you have to constantly do videos. Video rules the world.
I think my camera was backwards, so I was trying to flip it around so you could actually read it.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to read it yet or not yet?
I haven't quite yet. I
See?
had company show up when I got off earlier and I had some food, so.
Well, drop a comment if you do read it. Let me know. You know, it's meant to be broad, right? Because so many things would change over time, especially steps 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
At the end of the day, you have to getting some relevancy behind a mission or a vision, like no different than Declaration of Independence was, right? It was actually, well, that was actually a legal document as well. So 3 new messages. All right, I think I'm going to wind down. I appreciate you being here. It's actually a little bit more conversational when there's someone else here.
Well, I find it interesting because I've tried to go live a couple times and I've watched you before, and like I mentioned before, I popped in a couple of times, and so I had a similar thought of what you were doing and I like it. I like what you're doing because it's kind of something that I was wanting to do as well. So maybe I like being here and I like you having me here and I appreciate the opportunity. That's really what I was trying to say.
All right, I appreciate that a lot. Maybe there's more people. Actually, should we take one more guest? You got a minute?
Absolutely.
Or you can drop out. You know, there hasn't been too many guests. I actually haven't been recruiting guests, but I don't know what we're going to get with you. Gabuchi 101, if you want to join as a guest. Am I misreading, not reading what that should be, right? We're Gabuchi 101. Does that have some sort of meaning?
No, I'm just curious.
All right. Well, I got control. If someone gets out of hand, I got control of the audio. So,
Well, he looks like he's got some sort of character in the background. He might be all right.
all right, Gabuchi, welcome.
Yeah, I mean, you might be new to TikTok, but I'm very well known. Right? People know the name Gabuchi 101. But I was gonna say, right,
What's it represent?
Gabuchi 101 is just, I'm an artist, right, and I was inspired, right, to create some art, and then one of my friends asked me, "Yo, what would you name this piece?" And then I just said Gabuchi.
Okay, thanks for the context. Are you an American? What generation are you?
Oh no, I came to America in 1999, right, due to an unfortunate situation in Somalia. And when I came to this country, a white Caucasian people taught me their language and their culture, right? And I waited about 3 decades for the government to return in Somalia. Still hasn't. So it appears that I'm now American.
Okay, that's okay. I like to put that up front. And what generation are you? How old, or roughly how old are you?
I'm 36. I came in 1999 in America.
Okay, so in American standards, you'd be called a millennial. So at least it gives us maybe a little perspective of, well, and you're
Yeah,
coming from
but
Somalia.
I do need you to understand, right?
Yeah.
I came to this country, right, and this country has been good to me, right? And the way that I see it, the way that I see the situation, right, is all we need is somebody that is very, very intelligent, right, to take a product that is very, very expensive and make it very, very cheap and readily available everywhere. You know, like these billboards that are everywhere, too expensive, right? Make that super cheap, right? And
Are
put
we
it
talking
everywhere.
about politics? Or are you gonna have a comparison to politics, or
Yeah, this is all about politics.
okay,
Right? A platform, right?
a platform? You
need a
said
platform.
product. Okay, got it, got it.
You need a platform to have your voice,
Yes.
right? Not many Americans are smart enough to create a TikTok, right? Me, unfortunately, I'm actually very, very intelligent, and I have created my own TikTok, and I just have some error messages in it, right now, right? At least I've attempted to learn. Right now, I will say this though: the way that I see the situation in America, very, very simple. This is the greatest opportunity, right, to basically be Marcus Aurelius, right? Right. This is the greatest opportunity in the world in 2025, right? I believe, right?
Who's going to
Somebody,
be our Marcus Aurelius?
I really think it's gonna be me.
Oh, you think it's going to be you?
I
Okay.
really think so. I really think, in all honesty, the way that I see all of you guys are distracted, at least I'm working towards that product, right? And I'm also working towards creating this product so that I can take over the voice, right, of the
So
platform.
are you interested in power? Is that what you want? Power? What
No,
do
no,
you
no, no. What I want is a surety.
Oh, you want
surety?
A surety, yes, a surety is what I want.
which is the country?
No, because I see this country, right, is most likely, to be honest with you, gonna fall, right? That's how I see it, right?
Well, you gotta understand, you may not understand geopolitics in the North American continent. So maybe your democracy might fall, but the power that is the American democracy or American republic, whatever you might want to call it in the future, I think if you think it's going to fall, I don't know how far you think it's going to fall. It might lose some relevancy.
I will say this. I will say this, right? It's 2025 right now, right? You and I just met, right? 2029, America is in my hands. I decide who becomes president.
All right. What do you think, Mr. Global? Should we let him? I mean, it's actually kind of
Well, let's. I think we entertain it. What?
okay.
So what's his first step? What are you gonna do?
Step number one is simple, right? Okay. Continue to work on making myself very, very competent in this mobile app tech, and try to, like, have a TikTok ready in case TikTok gets kicked out. That's step one. Step two, right? Take that billboard that's super expensive, break it down, right, and make it cheaper, solar paneled, right, and then that's it. Put that shit everywhere. You control the voice.
Okay.
Now I need what else do I need? I need a surety. Literally, I need a surety. What is a surety? Simple, bro. Right? I came to this country because of a civil war. I can't have a civil war here, right? What really is the problem? Right? The problem is really, really simple, right? We got
Please say eliminating corruption from politics. Please, please.
no,
Oh shit.
no. This is. I kid you not.
Well, I just
This
want to
is
people in the comments. If you think we
no.
should boot Mr. Gabucci, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, we're
All
going to
good, bro. It's
continue
all
to
good.
entertain him.
It's all good, right?
Yeah.
Actually, ask them to pay it. I've had actually people pay $10-$20 to have me kicked.
Gabucci,
Right? So ask them to pay.
what's the name of your new political movement? You're gonna become Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, I told you, right? This is Rome, and Marcus Aurelius sits at the gate of Rome, yo. So I'm in Dallas, right? That's the gate of America. I sit here, 2025, 2029. I decide who becomes president, governor, whatever the heck you want to call it. I decide. I want a surety, right? That this Constitution that's most likely fabricated because you can't order on Amazon, right? It is guaranteed to stay.
What is happening?
I hope more people tune in because I think this is quite entertaining.
No, I mean, think about it, right? You can order a Bible from Amazon. You can order a Torah from Amazon. You can order a Quran from Amazon. Every single day we got
Weren't we just
atheists.
talking about the Roman Empire? Now we're on to Amazon.
No, hang on a sec, right? And I just want to make a point.
All right, connect the dots quickly, please.
There is no dots to connect. This is just a momentary tangent, right?
Momentary tangent. Holy shit, man, dude.
Deviation from a deviation from how Gabucci will take over in 2029. It's just a momentary deviation, right? Because I really got something to say against these atheists, right? Every single day, yo, I be flipping through TikTok, and you'll be talking about God doesn't exist, yada yada yada. Please, bro, show me the Constitution on Amazon. It's a fabricated thing, right? But don't worry about it. I'm gonna make sure it stands, and nobody.
So
overthrows
Gabucci, you're not just entertaining us, you're actually entertaining the audience as well. Lily Plays seems to enjoy you, Anthony as well. So yeah.
Right now, what do I want to guarantee? I want to guarantee certain things, right? I don't want you to get kirked.
You don't?
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't want you to get kirked, right? So what does it mean to get kirked, right?
I think most of us mean you don't have to go into details. I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, right. So basically, what you're doing on TikTok, let's say you want to do it outside in the park, or you want to do it at the mall, and then somebody disagrees with you, right, and wants to kirk you, right? What we need to do is punish that person as a what do you call it, bro? Like when another country sends in a spy or whatever.
Espionage?
Yeah, you charge them with espionage and shit.
Okay.
Why? Because he's coming for a pillar, right, of America, bro. Freedom of speech is a pillar. Freedom of religion is a pillar, right? What do you call it? Freedom of
Am I having
education,
is this a
right?
dream? I feel like I'm having a dream.
Nah, cause like, homie, look, you gotta understand, bro. Listen, what the dude is trying to say, right? Listen, you gotta understand, cause right, what these people are trying to say is, right, I can use my money, and I can decide who's in power. Okay, fine, right? Gabuchi is gonna use his intelligence to decide who's in
So
power.
do you want to be an autocratic emperor? Do you want to be an authoritarian? Do you want to be a fascist? Like, let's dig in. Where do you want to be?
It's really simple, right? I have to
You
make
just want to be an
sure.
emperor, right? You just want to be an emperor. It sounds like you want to.
No.
You know, if you were going to recreate the Roman Empire, the North American continent would be a pretty wise place to do it. You know, it does have the
Bro,
resources to do it.
look, right.
All right.
Here's
Well,
the thing.
Gabuchi, I appreciate your time. I'm going to kick you now. I think we've
I told
exhausted
you
this.
the answer is simple. Emperor Aurelius is here.
Yep.
2020, and I'm coming.
Okay. Good luck to you. I wish you the best of luck. And I
Thank
am
you, man.
being sarcastic and facetious.
And I remember one last thing. Can I say one last thing?
Go ahead. One last thing.
On your way home and on your way back, you will see my sign and you will weep.
Okay. I might just rent out that billboard and replace your sign with something else.
That's the craziest part, bro. That's the craziest
I'm just
part.
going to outbid you there, buddy.
Right?
And then no one's ever going to know who
That's the
Gabuchi is.
craziest part. That's the craziest part. I took your money.
I love the
Thank you.
Oh, he took my money. Well, now does he own the billboard? I didn't know he actually owned the billboard.
what? All right.
Oh, the beauty of TikTok lives. So those
I didn't know they
17
let-
of you around, thanks for listening in on that. That was, hope you got entertained like we did here.
I didn't know they let cell phones into those types of establishments.
Everybody's got to have a cell phone. Oh, and look, and he's laughing. Oh no, that was Anthony 36. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so
You know the scary part is that's how people are thinking. He's literally that man literally thought that. And I don't know if he was serious or not. He said he sounded serious.
yeah, I don't know if he was trying to grift off of the whopping 15 people that are watching this live. If he was trying to grift and get more followers, I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe.
very, very well, I guess.
I don't know. You couldn't find anybody else to join. I'm the only one amenable enough to invite somebody in.
That was crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've definitely exhausted this tonight. So maybe I'll see you tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to keep trying to think of topics and I don't know, see where things go.
Absolutely. Well, have a good one, TK. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Mr. Global, we'll see you soon. Thanks everybody for joining. I'm going to cut out on YouTube and on TikTok. If you haven't already clicked on the follow button, please do. I have to grow an audience. I mean, that's plan one. It's been a long live. It's step one of the plan on tinyurl.com/TK Civics Plan. It's all about eliminating corruption from our political system and replacing all career politicians from both parties. I know it sounds impossible to some people. It's certainly possible. It's not impossible. It's going to be difficult. It's going to take time. If you have enough people, it can happen. If you don't have enough people, it won't happen. It's very binary. There's nothing technically prohibiting it other than getting enough people to support you. So I have 16,000 followers here on TikTok now, and hopefully on YouTube will grow as well. Like I said, Mr. Global, and I appreciate, some people might think it's delusional. I don't think it's delusional because it's not. It's just simple numbers. It's simple math. There are 75 million independents in the United States that have no representation, and that if the 75 million independents got together and wanted to eliminate corruption from our political system and replace all career politicians from both parties with temporary civic servants, it could happen. You just have to go back to 1992 to realize that it could potentially happen. While it didn't happen, there was a reform party. That's why I asked this question. If there was another party, what should we call that party? That was the Reform Party in 1992, and it had an instrumental impact on our political system, or almost did, let's say that. So it did get 20, Ross Perot and the Reform Party did get 20 million votes. And we need to do something much grander and bigger than that. Otherwise, we're going to lose our democracy. Like Mr. Global says, together we stand. We have to stand, whether you're MAGA, liberal, or anywhere in between. We have no choice, that we're going to have to unite. And that's why maybe it's the United Party, again, putting the cart before the horse. But that's why I wanted to have the Working People's Party. The problem with the Working People's Party, I don't know if that's a joke or not, but thanks for the likes and the badges. That really helps the live for the future. The Working People's Party, that sounds like a communist party. So no thank you to that. And that wasn't even Rick saying that. So hey, the New America Party, that's not bad. United Party, the Integrity Party, right? It's not about government being bad. It's about bad people being in government. That's the problem. And we need to have character and integrity in our government and in our politics. And it doesn't matter where you stand on the issues. You just have to come into politics trying to represent all the people and bring representation back to all the people. So it has to be that foundation. So whether it's the United Party or the Integrity Party or something, and the Gabucci Party, there you go. Whatever it might be, we do need eventually, well, if there was ever a movement large enough, there would have to be maybe a party, or maybe you'd run as independents. Who knows? Those things aren't important right now. All that's important is there 50 to 70 million people, Americans, that would want to eliminate corruption from politics? And the answer to that is very much yes. There is 50 to 70 million people, and they come from MAGA, liberal, and everywhere in between. The problem is not that if there is 50 to 70 million people, there are. Most people would say there is much more than that. It's, can you reach them? Can you communicate them? Can you get the message out far and wide enough to get them to buy into a different mindset? So it's not, and like Gabucci said, they are too distracted. Maybe they are too distracted, right? And that's why you have TikTok, and that's why you have YouTube and these other platforms. In theory, if it wasn't for the algorithms, it should be easier than ever to get your message out. And it is at some scale, but is it easier to get your message out to a large scale? And I would say it should be, right? You don't have to have money. You just have to have time, patience, and a voice. And maybe there has to be a lot of different people conveying the same thing. The Constitutionalist Party, that's interesting as well. But like I said, so it's not about if there are 50 to 70 million people that want to eliminate corruption. It's about, can you reach them? And you start by reaching 10, and then 100, then 1,000, then 10,000, 100,000, and so forth. It's called the Beginners Club, right? Yeah, Travis, the Beginners Club. I don't know if you're referring to what I'm saying right now, but there's no doubt it's not even the Ripples Club, right? Just not even a ripple in the social media ecosystem is this channel. But I hope that hope is more powerful than fear or than hate. Hope is more powerful than hate. We all know that negativity is louder than positivity, but hope should be more powerful than hate. And if that's the case, if you are MAGA and you are a sensible MAGA, and I think there are sensible MAGA people, and if you are liberal and hardcore liberal, there are sensible liberals and the 75 million independents in between, that if you wanted to do something different, it's there. There's nothing we can't change other than maybe our own mindsets. You have to change your mindset first and know that it's all possible. So that's my closing. I'm going to leave everybody with the opening, like I usually do, of the newsroom. And please listen to the words carefully. This is from Will McAvoy. That's the character on the newsroom, who was an independent broadcast journalist. And while this was written by a liberal in terms of the show, the producer, Aaron Sorkin, nonetheless, the words, just listen to the words of the newsroom. And it doesn't matter if you're MAGA or liberal, you should understand that these words were really powerful and inspiring at the same time. And that's why I try and play this most of the times at the end of each live. So for the 14 of you that are remaining, take a minute or a couple minutes and listen here.
Sure used to be. We stood up for what was right. We fought for moral reasons. We passed laws, struck down laws for moral reasons. We waged wars on poverty, not poor people. We sacrificed. We cared about our neighbors. We put our money where our mouths were, and we never beat our chest. We built great big things, made ungodly technological advances, explored the universe, cured diseases, and we cultivated the world's greatest artists and the world's greatest economy. We reached for the stars, acted like men. We aspired to intelligence. We didn't belittle it. It didn't make us feel inferior. We didn't identify ourselves by who we voted for in the last election, and we didn't scare so easy. We were able to be all these things and do all these things because we were informed by great men, men who were revered. First step in solving any problem is recognizing there is one. America is not the greatest country in the world anymore. Enough?
Thanks for watching. We need to return to some of those values. I'll see everybody in the next live and in my videos. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining the live earlier.